The last prince now of the fallen Briol kingdom itself has indeed been searching now for a way to end his sad life here. A dark figure now encounters his half-dead and broken state, commenting indeed bitterly on his profound misery, after he himself became solely responsible for the demise of his own kingdom. 10 long years ago he was a gambling addict, and won each game he played, completely and utterly lost in his addiction to all gambling. He stubbornly refused to listen to his family's trusted mage to leave very early. His frustrated opponents then accused him clearly of cheating, causing the young man to grow frustrated quickly in rage and flip the table right over. Instead now of eating a Snickers bar to simply calm himself right down, he proudly then revealed his very true identity as the third prince himself of the very Briol kingdom now. Shortly thereafter, he killed all the men directly, and later that very night, he had a crucial meeting with Yekaterina Ivana Granzi, the empire's princess there. She had a falling out with him for merely arriving so late, and his weak excuses really only made her angrier and angry. Bro seriously pissed her right off, and in some misunderstanding now, she tossed the very necklace he gave her right onto the ground below. Yekaterina angrily told him directly not to even contact her, leaving the prince truly questioning how he can apologize to her now. Unbeknownst to the both of them though, a spy had overheard their private conversation entirely. The following day dawned, and he had already made his move clearly, thus causing the delicate relationship between the Empire and the Briol kingdom to completely fall apart rapidly. Conflict between them then grew, becoming more unstable than ever before now, until one fateful day, doomsday tragically broke loose for the Briol kingdom now, right in the face of a truly sudden invasion. The gates incinerated directly before his very eyes indeed, and war had officially begun in earnest now. The bloody war continued relentlessly for several more years, unending and brutal, reaping the precious lives of so very many. At that time, the most feared man indeed on the continent, Fiore Briol, mysteriously disappeared completely. Because of this sudden disappearance, the tables flipped dramatically, clearly into the Empire's favor. With the outbreak of war, Yuri began to sadly believe that it was the Empire, Princess Yekaterina perhaps, who had betrayed him thus, and forwarded classified secret information. The very moment his own father left the nation itself, the Empire cruelly made its calculated move and unleashed war. At the first, Yuri desperately wanted to believe he was truly wrong, that the princess certainly wasn't responsible for the sheer bloodbath that became of all his family. But then when he received an apology note right from her hand, his deepest feelings further sank down into raw despair. That the brutal war continued on, he desperately fought for dear life, cutting down many enemies directly in his own fateful path. Exhausted now and cornered so badly, more of the Empire's knights surrounded him. Yuri had fully accepted his coming death and was prepared now to die. But before he truly could, a brave noble knight protected him so selflessly, blocking the fierce attack with his very own body too. Laurent then did his final act of loyal service so that the prince could escape. Even though Yuri so desperately wanted to bravely save him, he painfully had to eat his feelings and quickly run away then, purely for the very sake of his beloved kingdom now. A few long days passed and the Empire was persistently still looking for him even now. Yuri had finally found some true shelter to secretly hide away, but sadly it was clear he truly wasn't going to last too long there. At this point, utter despair had indeed completely overwhelmed him. He fully then accepted the harsh reality that his father must have been assassinated too. At that very moment, an Empire's knight had finally located him out. But instead of ending his family's entire legacy, he pleaded intensely to the man to let him live, for his family's sake now. The knight, instead of truly killing him, stated boldly that the Empire itself is destined to reap the terrible consequences of its action. He told the last prince to run, as the others were rapidly approaching too. Yuri ran once again, truly placing emphasis on staying alive, gambling precariously on the chance that he'll get revenge someday. But inevitably, in the end, everyone died anyway. He knew deep down that nothing good was going to happen, and that someday soon, a knight will ultimately come to take his life too. And that right there brings us back to his encounter now with the mysterious dark figure who coldly told Yuri that he doesn't deserve even the relief of death, pinning directly the blame squarely on him for absolutely everyone's death. The sinister dark figure unmasks himself then, revealing shockingly a zombie-like warrior straight from hell. This very man is actually Laurent now, who literally died protecting him back then, and yet he's here now just to kill Yuri Briol outright. The man who became fully responsible for the fall of his kingdom now. His cold blade pierces Yuri's very heart deeply. What hurts even more now than dying is the deep feeling of immense guilt that Yuri carried in his final moments, sinking him in unfathomable despair indeed. The last thing he then remembers are the dear words of his father, to truly never abandon his honor. as his consciousness slowly fades to black now. The next time that he reopens his eyes anew, he's clearly no longer in the very same world. Yuri Bryal awakens in utter shock and surprise. Only this time he's just a child being scolded by his father now. As the kid had been asleep now for 3 whole days straight, his concerned father has been sitting near him closely, carefully looking over the kid's condition constantly. Way too many things are happening at once currently. Yuri just can't comprehend how the hell his father is still alive or even why he's here to begin with now. Sinking further into despair, the boy just shrinks in grief. The crushing death of his father right after his own end. Though the stern leader of the Briels has no idea what his own child is talking about just now. Yuri suddenly grabs his father's hand and admits that it's not such an unbelievable ending actually, as even though his dad boasted so much about honor that he had plenty of dark secrets of his very own too. Finding his own son's nonsense as ridiculous as ever still, he smacks the kid's head hard, knocking the living daylights right out of Yuri now. The poor kid is brought to tears with that quite heavy smack, questioning just why his father still can't quite deal with his troublesome habit of always hitting, even now in hell. It seems like Yuri is fully convinced both of them are in hell together right now until a single leaf blows by and shocks him to his senses. His stunned gaze then shifts to the beautiful view right outside, as a truly stunning realization finally hits him hard. This isn't hell because hell can't ever be decorated with such rare beauty of real people that are full of life now, because if this place was indeed hell, then there surely would be other sinners roaming all around the place, and plenty of demons would be taunting Yuri perhaps for the quite pathetic life he truly led, becoming solely responsible for the ultimate demise of his kingdom. Reality very slowly starts sinking deeply in, as he looks intently at his father and all the rest of his brothers. Suddenly the poor kid's vision starts wavering greatly again, and he collapses, causing his worried family to shout his given name and word. The full truth is that at precisely this moment, the third prince of Fair Bryal Kingdom has now regressed fully back to simply being 13 years old. Let's talk just a bit about his own thoughts for a moment here. All this trying time, Yuri believed this was some quite wild dream made, or possibly some kind of strange deja vu hitting him hard at the end of his long life. But despite having truly tried his very best ever, he simply couldn't wake from this most odd dream he had. What's more indeed, the world as he knew it fully didn't end either. Life clearly continued, completely as usual always, and the forgotten memories of the past were resurfacing now. In his present new life, he shares a quite normal family dinner now, and accepts the penultimate outcome of his reborn life quite fully. Indeed, he has returned fully to the distant past, the very same spring when he originally became 13 years old. A second chance here, a chance now to correct absolutely everything. The very next morning, one of the maids comes to help the young master to wake up quickly from his deep slumber. Indeed, Yuri had even tasked her to wake him up right on time, and yet, remarkably, he's still sleeping soundly like a log. The kid then wakes up indeed in worry and shock now, realizing fully that he's supposed to be attending his vital sword training class. He quickly now hurries up all his urgent preparation, begging Ina to get everything totally ready while he washes quickly. He's in quite such a state of real hurry that even the maid Ina thinks he should try to calm right down for a small bit. She suggests they take it slowly by gently helping him wash his face first. By the way, just seeing her alive and very well again now brings some truly traumatizing deep memories flooding now into his very mind, because back in the real true timeline, he found Ina tragically slaughtered among all the others. The chilling memory of her terrible death still truly frustrates him. Turning back now to address her directly, Yuri makes an utterly astonishing request right now. He wants his personal maid to slap the living shit out of him. Ina is clearly at a total loss for simple words, because her very role is to fully serve him and ensure he's okay, and to slap him would mean specifically going against her defined role. It's a truly great crime for any dedicated servant, but Yuri argues quite firmly that he's ordering her quite directly, so it should be indeed okay. But the maid is still deeply concerned, and she asks quite plainly if he's really certain about his decision now. The very confident Yuri is firmly in the middle of completing his full sentence, when a super loud smack suddenly hits his damn face hard, so loud indeed that it even truly scares away the poor birds right outside. Imagine just how funny it certainly would be if she killed him by total accident. The entire incredible story would abruptly end right here then. The whole scene fast forwards swiftly to the extensive training grounds, and yet, Yuri's face now is swollen right up like a huge balloon now. He forgot completely just how truly strong Ina fully was as a dedicated maid. While he's diligently practicing his blade there, even the bystanders are loudly laughing at his current condition. Instead of truly offering him some ointment to soothe all the swelling, bro actually got the entire gang quite laughing at him instead. The truly funniest part is just how Bernard, his skilled sword teacher, doesn't even acknowledge his face looking quite different today. The kid interestingly then notes that his teacher doesn't even comment on Yuri's imperfect stance now, or positioning. He simply feeds the boy with just a sparing experience, completely without educating him with needed information. It makes Yuri sincerely want to question how this exact guy ended up becoming a teacher in this place. The esteemed third prince then remembers a meeting he spied on Indeed, between Bernard and his father. The sword teacher exclusively complained about Yuri's wasted potential now. The kid really could do much with such talent, but he isn't really serious about his training currently, or truly else he has the fundamentals now to become the finest brave warrior for their whole kingdom. Turns out now that Bernard is actually a pretty good teacher. Really, it's genuinely just Yuri simply being a terrible student, truly, that forced him right into this unwanted role that, in his original previous life too, the young boy didn't think much at all of the meeting, simply got lazy. It frustrates the current version of himself now, because he deeply understands the mistakes he made back in his youth. So this key time, Yuri addresses his patient teacher, orders him that from now on onward, he'll be surely learning properly this time. He is officially, finally ready to give his full 100% in every single session. The sword teacher smiles, questioning what has suddenly gotten right into the boy, but he feels truly glad to hear those hopeful words, unleashing a huge wave of thrilling blue intense aura now. Bernard passionately declares the true start of the child's real training session, saying so loudly, he bolts into tremendous amazing speed, and fiercely clashes his own blade hard against the young master's blade, sensing very clearly that he wasn't at all clear with his past word. Yuri hastens immediately to try stop the dude from ending his own precious life. Bernard instantly returns to his exact spot, while our boy is left with a truly horrific expression indeed. He was truly so in over his head just early, that he completely forgot about something truly important. Yeah, the man bursting with blue aura now walking straight up to him, was once revered and known as the sword demon long ago, before he formally began serving the kingdom with honor. And well, that truly wets Yuri's pants, certainly, and you can clearly see the fear just collecting on his face now. After such an excruciating training session that day, the kid drops hard onto the ground in utter defeat and exhaustion. He had just experienced a true taste of what a real training session truly looked like in its entirety. Yeah, the single only reason he was even able to contend against his teacher just now was solely because of his extensive experience truly as a mercenary from the original previous timeline itself. Despite struggling fiercely hard for his very life now, Yuri finds some true optimism in his hard training final. Sure, it truly made him want to possibly kill himself, but at very least he's improving immensely along this difficult way. The real true kicker is actually indeed Bernard's own reaction honestly. He truly can't believe that the young prince was able to block every single attack now. His rate of improvement became quite magical in the middle of their fight itself. Interrupting their session then, Ina bangs the door open wide, panting and requesting the young master to quickly come with her now. Yuri and Bernard too are alarmed now to hear that the king is requesting his son's presence. When our boy asks just what's causing so much urgency now, he learns that it's specifically because Count Johannes himself brought his own son here to meet with them indeed. By the way, Count Johannes' son is actually the very same bastard responsible for betraying Kingdom Brielle long ago, and opening the gates then for the Empire's attack also. Got Barkvar is one traitorous slimeball for sure, and now he's back to haunt him again perhaps. Addressing his maid, Yuri's voice fills up with clear cold determination itself, as he pointedly inquires for the scumbag's current location as well. In the next scene, the family is sharing a meal together with their guests there. Seeing the poised behavior then of the third prince soon, Count Johannes is quite rather surprised now, and even compliments the boy's fine physique here. The king confirms this statement now, and even thinks that perhaps Yuri is eating something new in his daily diet. Count Johannes jokingly responds quickly that they should share whatever he's having with poor God, his own dear son. The king then returns the compliment and commends Gott's keen intelligence, but apparently his own father doesn't quite think the same too, and argues that his own son is indeed lacking in many different areas. Speaking precisely of which, Gott now appears to be dazzled by Yuri's brother fangirling just over him. As for our focused boy, he's quite busy glaring his ass down so firm, causing Gott to nervously avert his own watchful eyes elsewhere. Yuri's other brother senses clearly this palpable tension, and wonders quietly if something happened between the tense two, seeing indeed how they have some conflicting tension truly going on strongly. The funny thing now is how our focused boy casually admits that this kid stabbed him directly in the back before. Hearing intently this, His brother taunts Yuri Brio rather harshly for leaving someone like that alone, especially after they betrayed him to such a great degree now. He truly isn't wrong in that way, though. It seems like Yuri's got quite a hate boner for God indeed, pointing out how that kid only acts like he's of high nobility, when really he's just such a wimp right now. The very expression on his face hasn't changed at all. Growing pissed, God furiously shoots him an angry glare so fierce, returning precisely the same strong energy. Instead of escalating this tense situation, our intelligent boy decides bravely to remain calm still, remembering that he truly should handle the circumstances intelligently. After all, there's no way in hell now is he going to let this terrible bastard ruin the kingdom of Briol ever again, or repeat those mistakes from his difficult past life now. Speaking of precisely which, Yuri also remembers vividly having fought him around a similar time now. In his original life though, they merely had such an argument indeed. It even could have been the reason that led God to betray the kingdom. Someday then in the upcoming next scene, they now enter the training grounds where Yuri tosses him a wooden stick. Acknowledging God's own skills with that sword indeed, the young fellow undermines his very own abilities now, until our boy reminds him then that their kingdom is not known for producing the wimpy, and also narrow-minded knights either. God doesn't really know where this is now coming from. He's far from truly becoming an actual knight anyway. Yuri straightforwardly reminds him that's his destiny to be one still someday, so he simply can't deny what's to come here. While Pipsqueak is in the very middle of countering his words now, Yuri launches himself at full rapid speed, confirming the very start of this duel now, wielding the most legendary weapon in this entire universe here. The almighty stick now clashes his stick against Guts then, who calls him quite a coward for ambushing him still. Suddenly, our boy is truly not done just yet. He showcases excellent battle IQ right there, by kicking the dirt right into his opponent's whole face, creating an opening by blinding Got. Surely, the annoying kid is now done being toyed around with, quite clearly, reminding Yuri of the honorable way of fighting that knights actually hold. But, shockingly, Bro literally throws his own sword onto the ground indeed, which is simply a short way of him saying now, I don't exactly need a weapon to beat your sorry ass. My own bare hands are now enough for this job here. Propelling himself forward with a very confident stride forward, Yuri kicks the ever-living crap right out of the kid himself, and ultimately knocks him straight to the hard ground now. And here I truly thought you couldn't quite bitch slap someone with a kick move. Holding his wooden infinity stick of mass destruction firmly in hand now, he claims swift victory now over Got Barkvar clearly, reflecting that this very same child ended up becoming a traitor, so sad, who even sold his family's honor to further help the Empire's nasty cause. He straight up just tells Scott now that his father is an amazing man, a respected knight surely amongst the entire kingdom itself. A position and a standing like that exists rightfully for a good reason now, and that high position may very well one day find its way to this young boy himself, offering him a helping hand. Yuri reflects now that everyone possesses the hunger deep down to survive in life, but simply, he can't stand it at all when one of his own knights is quite as weak-willed as Scott clearly is. This time around, in this current life, he firmly refuses to create any such weakling, including himself. Quite frankly, he repeats his burning question, questioning precisely why his father became a count in the very first place. He truly doesn't want God to answer right away quickly. He simply wants the boy now to reflect deeply on this very same question, each and every time he's in a quite difficult situation perhaps. The delicate situation now resolves itself, and God leaves on a positive note truly. Now, as for Yuri's dear brother, he's pretty damn surprised indeed that he actually won that intense battle, openly admitting that he was in fact rooting firmly for God to win outright. Seems awfully harsh at first perhaps, but remember now, at just this point in time certainly, Yuri is widely perceived as a quite careless and a lazy young master character anyway. The kid understandably takes offense, but his brother quickly reminds him though, that everyone well knows the infamous third prince now for simply being a troublemaker character, and also a gambler too, so it's certainly not really an unfair assessment actual. Annoyed, Yuri declares loudly, changing his old ways now, and alarms his brother to really stop pretending or teasing him so much. Seeing the surprised Pikachu look right on his brother's face now, Yuri teasingly smiles just slightly, as his sibling fails to quite figure out what the hell happened to him then. A few more days passed swiftly. The hellish training session between both him and Bernard continued onward. By the dark evening, our boy is now fully exhausted completely. With his intense sword training already under full motion now, the instructor recommends strongly that they start teaching him more about a complex mana method soon. As well, Yuri is greatly dazzled now, and questions if he's about to fully learn Bernard's personal mana method too. But his teacher quickly disappoints him by firmly stating otherwise clearly, believing strongly that he's certainly not ready for something quite like that yet. Instead, he strongly believes that Yuri Briol simply should learn the basic official Briol method first. The kid surely doesn't know just why, but Bernard vouches highly for that mana method truly, for honestly being a balanced and quite efficient one indeed. Now here's the actual thing though. Our boy here has already quite mastered the Braille method in his previous life now, so he's not really getting actually any brand new gains by learning it again now, not even to mention here. He reached its very outer limits during his time as such a mercenary now. Seeing his clearly frustrated reaction right now, the sword instructor truly wonders if the third prince indeed had something rather else in his mind. The kid thinks for a moment now and reaches his true conclusion. He clearly wants the instructor to recommend a truly competent instructor directly from the royal guard itself to thoroughly teach him. It's fine truly if this person isn't extremely skilled now. All they truly have to be is a pool of exceptional new talent so he can greatly learn directly from them. After all, despite his past experience as a strong mercenary, there's one new technique that Yuri truly couldn't get his own hands on in his previous life now. With the mere word potential so much in mind, the reputable instructor now enters a state of deep contemplation instead. At long last he comes up with an insightful answer here. It's Jared indeed, the one who possesses the absolute most potential of all the named Jared. Once again, this brings the boy back with a flood of memories now. He encountered the very man in the hellish war from his previous life you see. At that point then, he didn't stand out as an exceptional person at all. In fact indeed, you could even call him pathetic really. To the very point, it was a genuine miracle for him to have survived that war. He even complained to Yuri despite his pitiful state. True enough, even our boy thinks now that Jared must have possessed some monstrous gift. Natural talent perhaps, but reality alas is oh so cruel though. It's because of his own simple negligence. He didn't really train or hone his own abilities well enough, and so inevitably, he just couldn't become powerful you see. By the time that the war came, he was a sobbing mess of course, and it was instead indeed, Yuri who gave him any hope at all that they'd both truly been such a waste of talent that, by the time that war struck them, quite like a truck actual, and by truck, I do mean truck-kuan natural. Back to the present moment. Our boy is now optimistic, and decides to meet Jared personally himself, dubbing him then as the potential knight without fail, speaking precisely of the man he's training right now then, and Yuri truly hopes to flip a light switch on him now, to ensure he doesn't end up disappointing himself yet again. So in the next scene, he goes right to the Royal Guard Academy, to meet up with Jared, seeing the young master arriving promptly. All of a sudden, the senior knight questions what truly brought him here now. The kid states promptly that he came to check up on them really, and indeed, learn that the knights are working really, truly hard every single day now. Our main boy then takes a look for himself soon, and spots the trainees engaged in fierce combat now, facing each other with intensity and pure ferocity indeed. But of them all, he specifically asks intently for Jared actual, who, it seems, does not appear to be here now. Abiding directly to his earnest request the senior knight simply points to the rookie's rough location soon. Just seeing him clearly in such a state our young boy lets out a clear sigh of true annoyance now. He finally gets why Bernard reacted the way he did way early. From the looks, Jared's training is actually quite underwhelming overall, compared sharply to the other strong fighters' training. Quite normally, you're often expected to go far above and beyond in your routine training, but this very man is basically doing the bare minimum it seems, all without making much real use of his true skill. Seeing him like this, it's no great surprise indeed. He ultimately ends up becoming a rusty knight in a dark future. Yuri then tasks the senior knight now, Sir Rosso, to help him with a wooden sword today, as he's much interested in joining them and also sparring. Rosso is quite happy and politely asks, what opponent the third prince will indeed be picking for the sparring session now. As you guys may have already guessed now, Yuri directly points to the slacker and requests a match then. After some good time, the arena quietens completely down. The trainees are resting a bit while Jared faces off against his strong opponent, the young master from Braille Kingdom then. His close fellows are now cheering him on loudly, hoping Jared here will perform at his very best truly, even though the dude himself is looking ever so annoyed too, like he just doesn't want to even be here truly. The boy directly addresses him right now, claiming he heard of his great, true potential as a knight. That's truly why he's personally come here now, to test truly those great abilities of his own. Yuri now wants to know about Jared's future path. Feeling nervous indeed, the guy accepts the duel's purpose now. Going on the offensive now, the fight kicks off as our boy lunges forth fast, in the earnest hopes of being truly impressed greatly. Jared simply waits, not showing a true hint of fear or worry. From where he just stands, he deflects our boy's swing with his very own. Even though the young master is going on the full offensive now, his opponent's movements are calculated with each and every step truly, so much so that Jared's own peers are amazed by him greatly. As the exciting fight continues onward now, the trainees notice how the third prince is also truly doing exceptionally well truly for his stature and experience overall, but something about the fight itself even has the slacker truly questioning what's going on now. Yuri strikes him again, forcing the man to block quickly. He keenly senses that the consistency of Yuri's attacks isn't just for a show now. This truly is all deliberate indeed. It's actually a conscious effort to match their pace perfectly. Quickly now, the battle becomes rather boring really, because so far Yuri hasn't really done anything yet, but react accordingly to the energy he's receiving directly from the knight. Deciding to go ballistic then and actually seize full control of this battle, our boy powerfully hammers down his sword with so much raw force now that it momentarily knocks the wind clean out of Jared for a second. But that's certainly not all now. The simple fact that the rookie knight was still able to deflect that attack here just clearly shows the extraordinary kind of talent he truly possesses here. Yuri freely admits that his opponent's reflexes are simply out of this world now, but he's definitely not done yet as he forcefully pushes Jared away with a wide swing. The fierce fight is truly starting to wear him down and push him back now. Yuri's potent attacks are way different now than they precisely were before then. All suddenly of a sudden, Jared actually completely stops taking it easy against the young master now, and retaliates forcefully with each and every strike now. Yuri is now suddenly on the defense, concludes now that this is truly how it was going to be. Despite having the vital experience of his long past life, it doesn't change the real fact that Jared is a strong, powerful knight. Victory here was always out of the real question, and yet right at the same time, our boy has one last trick indeed. Surprising his strong opponent, Yuri swings his sharp blade in an upward strike here, forcing Jared's sturdy blade to suffer such a harsh recoil now that it certainly creates an opening there. With a subtle smile on his young face, the third prince quickly admits that he's going to get a solid hit in now, even if he's going to ultimately lose this tense fight. And so that is exactly what he firmly does here. Blazing bravely forth with a powerful slicing motion, he surely cuts past the strong knight in a confirmed solid hit, happily celebrating his well-earned strike now. Even the rest of the trainees truly are at a loss for mere words. The third prince's very excellent fighting technique seized a proper strong hit right against mighty Jared here, and they all quickly praised him greatly for it now. But the heated fight isn't over yet as the young master prepares his blade again, questioning now if Jared is indeed still trying to hold back, instead of truly being arrogant there. The knight profoundly internalizes his deep confusion, even though indeed he had control of the fight then. With each move he fully makes, it's like he's surely the one being driven back now, instead of striding forth strongly once again right now. A truly passionate Jared nearly gets struck harshly again. The third prince directly encourages him now to try harder now, which in turn really makes the talented knight here grow annoyed. Now in his mounting anger he coats his weapon with a mana method technique. His usage of the ability truly has Sir Rasa, and surely the others loudly shouting at him now for invoking such an ability right against the young master now. But sadly this man truly doesn't care anymore about it, as indeed his blade is currently pulsing with intense aura, and truly it makes its way swiftly just past the third prince's very neck. If Yuri surely hadn't been so careful there at all, he really would surely have been struck quite badly then. Jared's deep rageful state quickly turns to pure despair. That last fierce attack it chopped away some few strands of hair there off the young master's head, and left just to scratch. The stark realization hits him again hard. Jared is scolded now for being quite a lunatic who attacked the young master indeed, while Russo is fearful now and asks about Yuri's true condition, instead then of making a big deal out of all of it. Our boy thinks it's merely just an inevitable outcome and a good spar. He bandages his small bleeding scratch carefully shut tight, and tells the brave knight now to pick up his weapon once more, as their intense fight has truly only just now begun it seems. Lunging into swift motion, Yuri quickly goes on the offensive again hard. Their strong blades clash as the third prince now finds himself quite amused, swiftly now overwhelming his worthy opponent with each strong strike. This powerful side of the prince is something not even the knight was fully aware now of. The rookie knight keenly compares himself to the third prince's state. One was barely even giving any real effort during training drill, while the other is very motivated to give it his all now to prove a distinct point. Not just that, Yuri seems entertained instead of feeling cornered in this clash, as he clashes intensely against Jared back to back indeed. It's not just that the young master is giving it absolutely his all here, but he's positioning himself well to try even harder with each fierce attack now. The intense duel reaches a sudden standstill, but Jared is finding it extremely hard now to keep his cool. He's clearly in a heated state of palpable rage. This raw kind of passion and intense fury never truly came to him before this moment, not even when he fought against notably stronger opponents at all. Meanwhile, our boy is looking quite majestic as hell indeed with those striking blue eyes, as he firmly blocks Jared's forceful advance. The seasoned knight simply can't believe that the young prince truly is pushing him hard to such intense limits now. Speaking of which right now, Yuri bursts forth with energy and commences yet another powerful horizontal swing indeed. His tense opponent quickly ducks under it now, but it's truly safe to say that Yuri got his sweet payback for the hair, as he precisely slices off a few strands from Jared there. The knight fiercely grips his blade with real power now, immensely and swiftly swinging it down against the young prince. I do think he's also employing a mana method right here, because his very blade literally cracks and shatters Yuri's own sword. The intense fight reaches its ultimate end with a clear victor renowned. Instead of truly feeling low about the defeat here, our main boy maintains his calm and smiles at his worthy opponent. Jared's strong aura dissipates, as his body releases very heavy breaths too, as a direct result of exerting so much raw power this time. The noble young prince offers a helping hand to the brave knight, stating clearly that he learned quite a lot in this fierce battle. Jared is just a bit nervous, but he commends the fine prince for his efforts indeed. As they're both shaking hands right there, the knight then deeply internalizes that his opponent's sheer fighting spirit and drive were truly unlike anything he'd personally seen before now. In the very body of this noble young prince rests a powerful fighter within. While he's thinking deeply all of this in his focused head, he fully forgot that he was still currently holding Yuri's kind hand now. The boy bravely confronts him and questions now why the hell the knight is acting so incredibly calm. After all, he is fully responsible for leaving that injury on the prince's head, running quickly away with his tail truly between his legs. Jared simply dozes off anyway indeed. That fight wasn't really too easy for our protagonist there either. The very first thing he indeed does is flop right to the floor, because of just how very tired he actually is. The knights are all loudly cheering for Yuri's rather impressive performance, while they're all joyfully celebrating. The brave captain of all the knights, who truly looks a little bit like Bernard Mabel, also definitely shows up now, and spots the young prince now resting in the aftermath of his tough battle. Sane here is surely the captain of the Royal Guard of Briolle now, and he's suddenly found an immediate interest in the young boy. The scene simply cuts to a few days after the tense incident. Jared is plainly seen walking back right after his shift now, when a truly familiar voice actually stops to confront him directly. It's only the third prince, and he's casually truly waiting for him now. Yuri urgently tells the man now to follow him, as they need to head somewhere truly important. Instead of following him right away there, Jared shows consideration for his valued training, which he'll soon be missing if he tags along too. This moment is actually a pretty huge change now, as has been noted by Yuri himself, because it shows that Jared shows some regard for his abilities indeed. At precisely the same time, the third prince admits that he's the very one who made it happen. So just this one time, Jared surely must follow him closely. The loyal knight accepts the vital order. It's not like he can defy the young prince anyhow. Meanwhile, our boy is rather satisfied with the guy's current state. There's still much indeed for them to work on more, but it's quite a good start. Curious indeed. The knight curiously inquires about their exact destination. To that, Yuri tells him to just shut up now and keep following. Jared feels afraid that the young prince might be making real trouble, but our boy confidently assures him that nothing like that will happen soon, as they're certainly not alone on this little journey now. The knight asks further about the others around now, while Yuri shouts aloud at the man just ahead there. It's actually the court mage now of their esteemed family, Hernando, who is quite alarmed by the young master's sudden call there. The kid immediately states clearly that he's gotta go somewhere soon, and indeed needs the mage to promptly assist him there. Hernando isn't falling surely for a request exactly like that and hurries to decline, until our boy hits him squarely at his weakest spot soon, revealing clearly that the mage has a mountain of gambling debt. Yeah, that could indeed be fully paid off in an instant right now. Astonished now, the mage turns swiftly back to fully confirm the young master's words spoke. The prince assures the guy he will pay off absolutely everything then, and it's surely not like he's scamming him in any way now, as Yuri is known quite widely to never ever lie outside the gambling den ever. Seeing Hernando vouch truly for our boy's clear honesty overall, Yuri is very pumped up until grim reality fully crashes down hard on him then, when Hernando clarifies quickly that all he's truly seen him do is exclusively lie right inside the gambling den, so it does not truly make a particularly good lasting impression of him. No. Still, Yuri assures him quite firmly that he'll pay the debt, so the loyal maid should certainly follow him now. Deciding readily to fully agree to the request now, Hernando pulls out a whole contract for him to quickly sign, to make absolutely sure he isn't getting fully scammed. Yuri's youthful face is left truly devastated now, as our boy realizes that not even his title now, as the third prince, is of that much use in this damn grim world here. Funnily enough now, he puts all the damages fully under Jared's name, telling the stalwart knight to simply do his bidding. At first glance, it seems like poor Jared is being shoved under the bus, but really, in reality here, this is actually Yuri's clever way of dodging the whole contract completely. He urgently wants the knight to act as a key witness now, between their own simple verbal agreement. With that all settled, Hernando is ready now to hit the open road, but he's still not truly sure where the heck they're fully going. After all now, If the young prince is taking both a knight and a mage to such length, then clearly now, the entire matter is truly urgent. At last, Yuri reveals his true mission to all. They'll be heading swiftly to the Sword Mountain now. The mage utterly fails to comprehend their grand goal, until the young prince smiles serenely, and declares that they're gonna loot his ancestors' dungeon. As they walk onward through the old abandoned tunnel, with Jared boldly leading the entire way now, Fernando remarks that he never would have ever guessed a hidden path like this could have even existed, right there beneath the Grand Royal Palace. Jared turns sharply and asks Yuri quickly, what's awaiting them at the very end of this long cave? And the prince simply shrugs, like it's no big deal at all, while casually saying it leads to Sword Mountain ahead, which utterly stuns the knight in place. Who asks if it's that very legendary one from all story? Pausing just a moment, Yuri nods, confirming that it's exactly that famed one. Then he drifts softly off into memory lane deeply, as he recalls how his own past life went truly wild then, when the founder's hidden legacy was uncovered at last, right after the Empire fully took over Brio. Yes, while running away amid all of that chaos then, he vividly remembered seeing a newspaper saying a dungeon had indeed been discovered inside Sword Mountain now. On the flip side, he'd merely used the tunnel for a clean escape then, and the so-called Grand Legacy slipped right into the crusty, waiting hands of the Empire truly. But unlike his younger past self, who just wished to survive more, this time around now, our boy's aiming straight for the full truth and refuses to look back ever. He locks in hard and decides he genuinely needs to see firsthand what kind of real legacy his own ancestors truly left behind for them. A moment later, the scene opens to a very lush green forest here that truly looks like it's been ripped right out of a Disney movie itself. And Yuri pushes open the giant, rust-covered doors at the tunnel's exit now. The entire squad walks into the open woods slowly, as Hernando scans the full area cautiously now, and asks if Sword Mountain genuinely begins from right here truly. Then he switches lanes and asks how Yuri even got his very hands on the key though. Quietly, the prince recalls that just like in his previous life that it had been simply lying in his study the whole time indeed. However, sadly he did not truly know its real value back then, which certainly cost him dearly you see, but he just tells the mage to quit acting like a nosy auntie now, and forget all about it right on cue then. He suddenly yelps aloud in pain as a thorn stabs into his palm. Yuri warns him that those leaves are basically sharp blades though, so he better keep it cute and just follow along like a good boy now. As they quickly push forward through the dense forest here, Hernando leans over towards Jared then, and jokes if maybe the prince hit his head or something bad, since he's clearly been acting all kinds of weird lately now, which the observant knight also happens to fully agree with quite much. But just before either of them can keep on gossiping loud, Yuri yells from way ahead telling the two slugs to move it fast, which truly proves that he still has the same old bossy streak still. Yuri gets alert as quickly notices something far in the distance, and suddenly signals firmly for the duo to stop now, right in their tracks and not to make a single sound out. He keenly points out a giant pack of dire wolves up ahead there, who look like they're just one bad step away from snack time now. He whispers that they live in packs, so surely more might be nearby, and Jared's clearly surprised that the so-called failure of a prince here actually knows a thing or two real. Yuri calmly replies now that he read it in a book himself, and Hernando nearly collapses truly at the mental image of Yuri just, even simply touching a book. Yuri adds quickly that the wolves haven't spotted them quite yet, so the simple plan is to sneak by without a sound at all. But the uncaring universe has other wicked plans it seems, because Hernando suddenly backs up quickly, and somehow steps directly on the one and only twig in the forest, which lets out a loud snap that nearly gives everyone a heart attack right now. Trying hard to play it all off indeed, he throws up a nervous apology all while sweating bullets badly, only for a fierce dire wolf to leap suddenly from above here and try to turn him into lunch itself. Jared freaks right out and rushes forward fast, as he loudly yells his true name out, and swings his sharp sword hard enough there to cleanly slice the wolf's large head completely off. In one brutal swift motion, the beast drops right beside Hernando, and Yuri then gives Jared props now for using man, since dire wolf skin here might as well be iron armor plate. Unfortunately this flashy move comes with a price from the pack's elf, who's clearly bulkier than the rest indeed. Locking eyes with Jared, the big guy lets out a chilling howl, and within mere seconds, the squad quickly finds themselves fully surrounded by the entire pack. While Jared tightly tightens his firm grip on his sword now, he firmly tells the other two to stick close as he charges mana again here, and all the wolves then begin drooling slightly, like they just suddenly found an all-you-can-eat buffet right now. They all fiercely lunge in together now, but Jared definitely isn't letting that fly by. He stares them all down now with full kill mode deadly eye, and slices right straight through the pack without once breaking stride. Meanwhile here, Fernando compliments the knight's smooth sword work. Yuri even agrees now, though he quietly thinks Jared still has quite a long way to truly go. While carefully watching him firmly hold his dangerous ground, Jared really starts to struggle greatly now as the wolves keep coming on, and Yuri finally nudges Fernando to stop idly standing around and show off those fancy skills his proud father loudly keeps bragging about. That gets Fernando moving now, and he throws in a quick joke that the prince is seriously working his battle mage overtime now, while whipping up a good number of at least 100 fireball. Jared glances back mid-fight and asks just what that's supposed to mean, but his battle focus instantly snaps back swiftly, as he keenly spots a fiery fireball flying his immediate way. He barely jumps clear in time, and quickly falls back, just as the powerful spell detonates loudly, and vaporizes the ravenous wolves in one massive explosion blast, that instantly turns the battlefield into dusty ruin. A few more brutally exhausting hours later now, and after hacking their long way through all kinds of monsters there, the squad finally fully reaches the mountain's very peak. Jared pants quite hard as he tries to catch his breath full, and is quite clearly annoyed about the never-ending combat for sure. The gang stands near the cliff edge, quietly taking in the vast view, and Jared looks around the somewhat barren stretch now, asking plainly if this is even the true right place at all. But our boys had already fully zoned in now, and says with absolute full confidence that he knows it is there, then starts poking keenly around the immediate area there, peeking quickly behind a rough rock. He finally spots something shiny still buried in the ground now, and his eyes simply widen like a kid on Christmas morning. Yuri doesn't even wait for a second and starts to eagerly dig it all out, while Jared swiftly rushes over to stop him, saying that he shouldn't actually be doing this grunt work now. He calls Fernando over two at once, but the pampered mage acts completely horrified right then, and claims touching any dirt is beneath his high rank indeed, and even calls it a total disgrace for a skilled mage. A little while later they finally manage to pull the very thing out, and Yuri eagerly lifts the gleaming sword from the dirt ground, staring keenly at the shiny thing. Expensive-looking blade with a real sparkle in both his eyes now. Fernando keenly hits his classic detective stance once more, and notes wisely that it doesn't even quite look that old there. Maybe like it was just rather recently placed right there. Yuri narrows his keen eyes and spots something there, at the blade's base, which is the very word guilty itself, carved deeply into it. Jared walks right up and asks now, is this their ancestors' legacy? But Yuri isn't quite sure yet, as he keeps intently inspecting the sword. Suddenly now, the ground trembles fiercely under their very feet, which puts everyone quite on edge as Yuri smirks lightly and says, this right here is the perfect chance to truly find out. The very earth splits wide open beneath them now, and Jared lets out a scream, just like a true drama queen, as they all plunge deeply into the dark abyss. The royal knight keeps right on screaming his lungs out loud, until he finally slams hard down to the cold ground, hard right in front of a very sketchy-looking pathway here. Yuri instantly bolts right up, fully awake now, as he finds himself lying right on top of the valiant knight, who clearly shielded him during the fall, and begins to carefully climb up, while Jared groans quite loudly, and complains about all the pain like an old man. Yuri quickly figures right out that he used his mana to reinforce his body, and calls it quite impressive. Indeed, it was, though the brave knight just blacks right out, on the spot, from pure exhaustion. Moments later, Fernando floats gently down, just like he's Mary Poppins on a vacation trip, and remarks calmly that this place is way deeper than he expected now. Yuri shoots him a fierce glare and mutters under his breath in annoyance that the guy just forgot all about the prince's safety completely, and instead, he focused solely on saving his own life too, which Fernando nervously tries to cover up now with some rather weak excuses. But before he can go into full lawyer mode really, a sudden, startling noise makes the battle mage turn around very fast, as he spots something deeply cursed now creeping slowly through the tunnel, and tries urgently to warn Yuri, who still thinks he's deflecting all blame. Fernando keeps urgently insisting that he's being dead serious right now, and straight up yells loudly that it's indeed a ghost truly, which finally flips Yuri's switch now as he whips fully around mid-panic. Sure enough, there's an armored being that looks like it crawled directly straight out of a chilling horror novel, is slowly but surely approaching them quickly, with a serious, deadly death aura indeed, and Yuri immediately clocks clearly it as a death knight total, while locking intense eyes firmly with it too. He tells Jared firmly to get on his own feet immediately quickly, though the guy still looks halfway to dreamland right now, and just groans a bit like a zombie in response here. But a swift kick wakes his very soul, and he bolts upright in such panic here. Jared gasps quite the moment he sees the incoming horror indeed, and dramatically throws himself in front of the prince outright, and yells out that he'll bravely handle the Death Knight now. Though Yuri doesn't seem especially impressed at all, the fearsome Death Knight comes to a full stop right in front now, while Yuri simply narrows his own intense gaze, and remembers now that these things used to be normal knights before they ultimately got resurrected now, much stronger than ever they were in true life. Still, He notes this one doesn't seem hostile now and calmly decides to approach near. Jared clearly doubts all the logic behind such a risky move, but Yuri replies quite with confidence that he just knows this sort of stuff, and further explains that it would make really no sense for the Founder's guards to go wildly wild on their very own bloodline now. Locking full eyes with the fierce knight, he states his given name loud and most clear indeed. The Death Knight processes that small act of audacity now, by standing there like a loading screen, just for a second, before suddenly pulling his massive sword out, which instantly throws the other two into sheer panic mode, but alas, it's already too late now, as the Death Knight swings his sword right at the prince, who's far too stunned to even flinch away now, though instead of chopping him right up, the huge blade simply stabs into the hard ground. After giving him quite an emergency haircut there, Hernando drops directly into despair mode now, and dramatically cries aloud sadly that the prince just caught sudden head loss syndrome indeed. But Yuri tells him bluntly just to shut it now. But the mage mourns this surprise trim instead now. The dusty skeleton finally fully opens his mouth and said, Yuri carries the same arrogant energy as the last one did. After sheathing his very sharp blade now, Yuri asks who that mysterious cool guy even is anyway, and the Death Knight reveals himself. He is Eric Bryle, which instantly and completely drops everyone's jaws now. Jared echoes the name aloud in utter disbelief, while Hernando goes into full lore nerd mode now, and explains that it's the one, the only Gigachat, that no one in Fair Bryle could ever forget truly, the legendary guy who conquered the entire continent solo then. He is also widely known as the founder of the Bryle Kingdom, and remarkably served as its very first ever king you see. Yuri straightens himself up now, and asks curiously if he's the first ever to make it here, and the silent Death Knight simply confirms that fact, adding gravely that only a true descendant of Bryle can draw that blade. Anyway, this fully locks in Yuri's deep suspicions for good, that the ancient sword really is the treasured heirloom of his ancestor, and he brings it a bit closer to his face for a closer inspect. The stoic Death Knight casually mentions he used it before, which instantly kills Yuri's whole vibe and leaves him mildly annoyed now, which somewhat confuses the silent Death Knight grimly. However, our boy here just apologizes humbly for taking his stuff. The skeleton then drops his full serious government tone now, and asks Yuri now to speak honestly about just why he came here. Yuri tightens his grip ever more on the blade, as he declares quite boldly his full name, and demands sharply that the knight hand over the Founder's legacy now. The Death Knight stares silently for a while, before turning then toward the glowing crystal light, and dramatically announces aloud that the time has surely come to fulfill his duty. He adds grimly that he will grant Yuri just what he came for, and the prince starts sweating slightly as he begins to follow behind closely. Meanwhile, Jared looks completely, utterly zoned out, as he silently processes all the recent paranormal drama here, realizing fully that this royal guard life is surely not what he signed up for then. Yuri glances back sharply and yells now at it, which breaks him quickly out of his daydreams here, as the knight indeed looks shaken quite badly, and starts getting quite weird flashbacks of some past life here, that doesn't actually even exist perhaps. He scratches his head and is half convinced he's really losing his marbles surely, but yells back strongly that he's coming quickly and runs after the prince forthwith. The Death Knight steps right up to the crystal so, and slowly lowers himself onto its sturdy base there, like his ancient old knees just gave up completely. As he strikes a majestic pose and radiates pure aura now, the crystal starts glowing intensely quite brightly, which forces the entire squad to shield their shocked eyes now, while the old skeleton declares that he hopes the young prince is truly worthy now. Instantly Yuri gets teleported to a barren place, a desert-like zone, and starts spinning around wildly in panic then, and wonders just where in the world he has landed now. He spots a mysterious figure approaching in the far distance there, and briefly thinks it just might be the Founder himself indeed, but that glimmer of hope vanishes quickly when he realizes the terrifying thing isn't even remotely human now, and is already charging full speed directly at him now. With a gleaming sword in hand, he barely manages to block the sudden incoming attack now, and grunts loudly from the sheer force. Locking his widened eyes on the bright blue glowing orb there, he stares in utter disbelief indeed, as he realizes the strange thing is actually wielding a powerful mana sword now. The transparent fighter then gestures to the glowing orb, a blue orb embedded right in its chest now, which leaves Yuri truly a bit baffled here, but it certainly doesn't stop right there. The glow begins to flow through its clear body too, and then spreads quickly into its sword, making that weapon light up brightly too. Yuri keeps his own sword raised still while on guard now, but starts realizing what he's truly watching now is the real actual method to wield all the mana itself. His deep confusion grows when the being gestures suddenly at it. He even shouts loudly at the thing to ask it if it seriously wants him copying its movements too, even though they're clearly supposed to be in a duel's middle. Right now he is scratching his confused head. Yuri mutters that the Founder might really have lost his own mind before dying the concept even of throwing someone here who hasn't even touched the mana wielding method into a real fight just to teach them by force sounds only like The kind of move someone living their second life even would think up. He comes now to the strong conclusion that someone might just be him indeed. Yuri crouches down low and focuses intently, as he begins channeling mana straight into his open palm here, and intently watches it glow so softly now. He's really stuck trying to fully understand how to properly use this technique, but he then raises his sword high and calls out to the faceless figure, saying, he's still really not getting it yet. He pointedly asks it to demonstrate properly just one more time here, and immediately gets a wild grin right in response there, as the strange being lifts its own sword up high again. That intense moment hits Yuri hard now, that he fully realizes he has truly no choice but to get even stronger no matter what it takes. He now stands off against the warrior strong and swears that, since the Empire is absolutely bound to reveal its true face very soon, and attempt with force to invade Bryle surely, this crucial time will be very different now. There's absolutely no way he's just repeating his past failures again, and strongly promises to destroy them completely this specific time, even if it ultimately means to give up his own precious life now. He fiercely tightens his strong grip firmly on the sword then, and quietly mutters now that this must truly be the swordsmanship of the ancestor king. Yuri doesn't hesitate for even a second more now, as he charges in at absolutely lightning speed now, and slashes with truly full concentration now, while he vows to fully absorb every technique thrown at him now, and begins his intense battle against the faceless fighter once more. Meanwhile, Jared slowly opens his eyes in a completely unfamiliar space, and looks all around with a rather confused look now. He quickly figures out now that he's standing in what looks just like a training ground, trying indeed to find any signs of life at all. He comes up quite short and comments that now, everything here feels far too truly real to be any kind of dream. He senses something quite off and clutches his sword very tightly now, while he yells out that whatever's hiding should stop being quite scared, and just come right out already. From behind him now, someone begins walking right up now, and he spins right around ready for a fierce fight, but then freezes still in total confusion then, when he comes face to face with his mirror image indeed. He then wonders aloud now if this is supposed to be the Death Knight's strange idea of a trial. He calmly asks the copy quite clearly for its given name, and whether it's supposed to be Jared as well now. Finally, the doppelganger opens its mouth wide and tells him that he shouldn't even be trying to ever fight fate, which throws Jared off a bit. The copy then smugly questions if he didn't just join the Royal Guards full, just to have the easy life there with all the riches. It adds that he should stay very far away from the third prince, and it warns him that the more he fights fate here, the more truly miserable he'll eventually end up. While Jared then narrows his sharp eyes and listens in silence, so, taking a very deep breath, he looks down at his sword closely, and realizes clearly that maybe the old him would have fully agreed with all of that indeed, but things just aren't quite the same anymore. His mind fully goes back to all those sparring matches with the prince. A wide, bright grin breaks out across his strong face, as he calls out the imposter for being truly salty now, and begins spitting Shakespearean prose forth. He states that once a blade is swung with might, your sole job is to focus on the next move coming, because if you get caught up much in what already happened, it will just mess with your own head even more indeed. The fake Jared doesn't let that bold statement pass, and fires up his mana sword with a taunt, calling him arrogant too. He sprints rapidly forward and launches a quick jab, but Jared expertly manages to block the attack with ease truly. As their swords loudly clash, Jared picks up on the pattern fast, and thinks to himself about how boring this copy truly is, never taking bold risks and dumping everything into defense now. The clone leaps up, but Jared sees straight through that act. Right away he thinks back on how painfully dull he used to truly be, and lands a clean, powerful hit that sends the double crashing down. Jared takes a breath of victory, but stays quite on guard still. Sure enough, the fake begins now to melt into some gooey substance, and the real Jared watches closely as it transforms into a giant form, a sludge beast. He realizes that the real fights have only just now started. Now the knight stares intently down at that oversized goo creature, and he mutters quietly that it's just another loud brute now, and he silently hopes the prince too is managing on his own end. Readying his own sword, he fully braces himself now, and mentally cheers now for Yuri to hang in there and surely win. Meanwhile, back in that desert-like area once again, the rocks are completely torn up from all of those sword strikes, and Yuri lies still now in a crater and doesn't even move an inch now. The transparent being stands over him with that sword in its hand, and the being walks right up with true menace in its steps. That Yuri still seems quite out of it and truly does not react at all now, but that faceless fighter really doesn't care in the slightest bit. It raises its sword up high above now and brings it down with fierce force, unleashing a massive explosion there that truly rocks the battlefield now. However, just as the transparent figure brings its sword crashing straight down, Yuri quickly drops the whole act, as he clutches his sword very tight now, and while flooding it fully with mana, he thrusts his sword straight powerfully toward the being now. With those acrobat-like reflexes, that other guy there manages quickly to bend backward just right in time to dodge, though the swing still sets off quite a massive mana explosion, as nimble and quick as ever. The faceless spider hops back some steps while Yuri exhales sharply now, as he finally catches a much-needed second to breathe now. He wonders just how long this intense duel has truly been going on. He admits the last bold move was extremely reckless and rather dumb, but the raw way he slashed and the way mana surged through his blade there, especially the fierce way he fought like his very life depended on every clash, that's what finally helped him start to feel it truly click now. He stares intently down at the pulsing blade in his hand, now pulsing with true power, and senses a real breakthrough. But before he can really soak it all in now, something suddenly pulls his full attention right back, as he notices the once transparent warrior starts to crack them. Its powerful sword splinters into fragments as its body fully begins breaking apart, and Yuri figures the situation out instantly there. The guy's time is truly up as dust begins to peel off from its limb, and just before fully fading, it raises one hand in one last final way. The prince intently watches the remains scatter into the open air, with a strange enigmatic smile tugging softly at his lip. He closes his eyes and quietly thanks his faceless mentor now, right as his own form starts to dissolve away too indeed. Eventually, Yuri groans a bit and slowly opens his eyes to blink off the haze. As he looks all around in slight confusion, truly, his own companions are waking right up slowly, and look as if they've gone through something so similar too. And that's when it suddenly clicks that they're finally back now. The Death Knight just watches and remarks quite smugly that, "It sure seems like they all had a nice little dream now." Yuri is still clearly a bit out of it all, but still manages to ask just what that even really was. He gets told it was all part of the founder's grand master plan, which is surely something he left far behind indeed, in case his future descendants ever actually made it to this place. Yuri remembers clearly how in his past life before, the Empire completely demolished Sword Mountain entirely with.
That probably fully explains why no one from the Brielle family ever got close to this powerful legacy before this time, instead of just letting it simply go. He then asks if the founder himself used this mana method too, but the Death Knight strongly denies it clearly. The founder didn't use it directly himself, but this truly was his final legacy gift. As after journeying far across the wide world, he carefully took every skill he deemed worthy and fused them powerfully into one final technique. And Yuri is really the very first to inherit all of it. The prince thoughtfully looks so thoughtful, and then questions just why Eric did it. Didn't just pass all of this down to the royal bloodline directly and purely. The skeleton now explains clearly that this deep dungeon only opens when the time's truly right. And since it opened now, in this very time, it means that this great power truly is now needed. Yuri then asks what exactly that powerful timing means now. But the brave knight firmly shuts that down though. It's not truly his place to even answer that key question. And Yuri's simply got to figure that hard part out himself. He keenly focuses on the gleaming sword again in deep interest, and asks at once its true and fearsome name now. And the Death Knight reveals that it's called Soul Severance. Clearly, that potent name simply lingers in Yuri's young head now, but quickly before he can really stew in all, the imposing knight then tells him to bend the knee deep, like he's truly about to pass down the old family heirloom still. And his dark aura makes it incredibly clear he's not really playing around. Yuri swiftly drops to his knees on raw instinct, no hesitation seen, and the Death Knight places a hand on the small boy's head still, and gravely begins reciting the solemn vow out loud. He tells Yuri to never fear his enemies, nor the young prince. Yuri replies back with a firm yes as he continues on still, and then commands him to fiercely follow what he believes full, and fulfill Brielle's sacred duty until the bitter end no matter what. Then quite without any real warning now, the knight grips Yuri's fragile head tighter and fully pulls it back hard, as he sternly orders him to lock in tight. And remember this next crucial part well now. That Brielle never ever throws away its honor, even if indeed the ultimate cost is dear life itself. With those somber final words spoken, the noble Death Knight also begins to slowly turn to dust. Having valiantly finally completed his long mission, his fading voice whispers one last parting line, that this indeed is the sacred oath of Brielle, while young Yuri wordlessly says simply nothing, and can only frozenly stare at the fading noble knight. The very next bright morning, the diligent maid barges right in and pulls open the curtains, and happily announces that it's morning from right under the covers. Yuri groans softly in weary protest now, and she kindly asks if he's perhaps feeling tired today, since he quite apparently came home super late last night, and kindly warns him not to lie right back down just yet, or he'll surely fall sound asleep again soon. Yuri drowsily yawns then, and he explains that he actually made a quick stop at the Royal Archive, which is clearly why he got in so incredibly late. The maid seems quite curious, and then asks exactly why he did that, and so he promptly answers, that he truly was looking for a rather particular record. While carefully digging through the family archives just last night, Yuri ultimately came across something quite interesting, that the historical records stated the very founder had a sibling, someone who simply tossed away their honor openly, and then just vanished completely from all the pages of history, without even a single trace now, staring at that very sword. Now Yuri thoughtfully figures that missing brother must truly have been the Death Knight, and that the famed sword originally belonged specifically to him. She then reminds him that he should probably go get dressed now, since the king is apparently currently waiting to see him right now, which ultimately makes Yuri's own heart nearly skip a clear beat. She then adds that honestly, she isn't entirely sure why at all. But now after Hernando's short meeting with his noble majesty, the mighty king immediately asks to see him right away. Yuri starts sweating bullets really and curses Hernando deeply, silently in his head now, as the vivid events of the previous night flood right back. He remembers Hernando's very face, telling him quite straight up that he was going to report absolutely everything to the king's sin. Yuri then asks if that's truly necessary now, but the guy just smirks darkly and says he kind of strongly feels like it is indeed. Yuri grabs his own head in terrible stress and realizes everything must have been fully reported by now. Quite a bit later, inside the gleaming royal hall here, Yuri stands still beneath a chandelier brightly that surely looks expensive enough to bankrupt a whole city, and firmly announces that he's here exactly as requested now. The king sits there calmly as he scratches his own head and is clearly a bit unsure what to even really do with it. Specifically at this intense point, he opens with the core fact that Hernando indeed has already told him truly everything, and scolds him really hard for sneaking off then. And not to even mention that he somehow managed to even find the secret dungeon and came out boldly with the founder's legacy. Yuri doesn't deny any bit of it, admitting it's all now true. But that does not stop the king from promptly rising from his seat. And if he truly found the sword down there now, which Yuri confirms to be quite true as well now, His Majesty walks slowly toward him as his tone turns truly heavy and states that lately he's heard from quite a lot of people that Yuri has certainly changed a lot indeed. The king narrows his eyes so sternly and starts rattling off names, listing everyone who's really told him about Yuri's sudden rather shift in personality now, with the final nail without doubt in the coffin being Hernando, placing gently a hand on his dear son's head. The king commands him sternly to speak out, and demands firmly to know just what exactly happened here to trigger this very transformation. Yuri gulps nervously now as he holds his sword even tighter, but says absolutely nothing yet. The king doesn't back off at all and presses again, so asking pointedly if he doesn't really want to give a reason now. Yuri stammers quickly that it's not quite that, but the king cuts right in and wonders aloud why he's hesitating there. Then the prince replies softly that he's actually scared because His Majesty has been clenching his fist so tightly this whole time. Realizing all of this here, finally, the king loosens his firm grip and tells him flatly to just spit it out now. Already now, Yuri finally opens right up and says quietly that he had a dream then, which immediately puts the king right on alert now. But Yuri continues onward in the strange dream. He somehow committed an unforgivable, terrible sin. The king still looks quite unconvinced clearly, and repeats the same phrase again slowly, using his full government official name aloud. Father Brio straight up asks clearly what unforgivable act he committed exactly that led to such a significant change in attitude itself. While Yuri just stares at him, I directly to I now. Yuri pauses truly for a long second before finally then admitting that his deepest sin was failing to protect Brio fully to the very bitter end within that dream fell. The kingdom then was thrown into the dire chaos of war, and countless innocent people were wiped clean out there, without any mercy really. The brave prince tried so hard to turn the tide and stand his ground, but completely failed utterly after Brielle sadly fell. He fled greatly in shame as he got stripped of all honor, and ended up miserably dying as a miserable soul. A broken down man now, he clutches tightly at his chest and continues then that, when he fully woke from that haunting dream, the necklace his dear mother once gave him was suddenly completely gone. That's truly when he started to deeply think that maybe this wasn't just simply a dream after all, but some kind of true warning from his own dear mother herself. The king looks slightly unsettled by all that now, and then asks, which force exactly now was responsible for utterly destroying the whole kingdom? In his dream, Yuri panics internally as he truly knows it's far too early to throw the Empire's full name into the mix just yet. There's still a real chance, even if it's quite small now, that the coming invasion can be delayed or stopped entirely, you see, with the absolutely right moves taken. So instead of that, he plays it very safe here and answers clearly that he doesn't fully know for sure. And it was just some black army indeed that came out of nowhere too. The wise king lets out a quiet sigh now, then smiles slightly and tells him it was probably just really a nightmare, you see, and maybe a true warning from his dear mother also. But he is truly glad that he is finally deciding to man up too. Now Yuri doesn't seem fully convinced at all now, as deep down, he truly knows now. He's fighting to be forgiven for the great sin of running away and leaving Brielle and its people behind to rot away now. But his dark train of thought gets cut rather short here, as the wise king straightens up and mentions clearly, there's something else, something important that still needs to be dealt with. With his majesty, the king crosses his arms surely and orders him now to draw his mighty sword. Fiore Brian truly is a remarkable prodigy who probably started slashing various things even before he could actually talk properly too. A walking disaster truly with a great sword who dominated absolutely everything and everyone there. His grand name was carved deeply into the whole continent through sheer force. Unmatched supreme skill, raw talent, and a level of exceptional martial skillfulness here that had no proper business existing within a single man at all. Back then now, there was much talk about the top 10 strongest people alive, and Fiore was the strong kind of man who hovered always, right at the very top of that list there. As Yuri stands tall in the training hall now, facing this legendary living legend indeed, he suddenly and truly realizes then that his old man is probably very considered the best sword master on this entire continent. Yes, he glances now around the room in total awe and mutters softly that he's truly never even been inside his father's very own personal training space just before. Thor then replies clearly that he honestly never expected any of his sons to ever have the talent for pure swordsmanship truly. To begin with, Yuri grits his teeth at that harsh jab now and mutters now that he does have natural talent, while the king just lets right out a long, tired sigh and repeats again the word talent. Then suddenly out of nowhere at all, he raises high his sword and aims the blade directly at the prince now, which truly catches him completely off guard here. He starts now listing off all the very usual physical skills now, such as raw speed, reflexes indeed, instinct, and asks if having all of those alone automatically makes someone the greatest swordsman ever. Still firmly holding his very sword at Yuri's throat now, he boldly answers his own direct question then, that none of those things alone are the real answers, and that the most crucial thing now is true drive that powerfully pushes the swordsman beyond limits now. His intense gaze sharpens and grows even heavier now, as he truly explains that it goes beyond basic duty or expectation. But all of a sudden, quickly his sharp eyes glow intense red. Yuri's stunned body stiffens suddenly, as he senses the sheer, intense pressure rolling strongly off, and clearly that his intense aura around him completely changes into something truly terrifying now. Fiore slowly lowers his strong sword and goes right on, that he simply doesn't even know how to truly put that strong feeling into any proper human words at all. So instead, he simply and clearly calls it the sword's strong call. Yuri stares intently in surprise and then lowers his own sword and quietly asks, even softly asks, if that means destiny or something else, as Fiore closes his thoughtful eyes and agrees, simply agrees that it can indeed be called that. Yuri goes quiet, very quiet, as his thoughts spiral deep again and recalls now that he was truly never destined to wield any sword in his previous life, even so, and wonders what suddenly changed. All of a sudden now, his eyes flick, dart toward the blade held in his hands now, as if searching there for some kind of significant answer. In its cool reflection, Fiore interrupts softly and throws out yet another question now, that should Yuri even be really holding that sword still at all? He pushes on and asks then if Yuri can truly hear the sword's silent call, and demands he knows, would he hold on to it very tightly, even while directly staring into the fearful face of death itself. Yuri is now completely shaken, as he stutters badly to get even an answer out there, that he doesn't really feel anything in the first place. However, he is met with the ice-cold gaze of his stern father and gets truly frightened. As he takes a step back with quite wobbly legs now, suddenly, it feels intensely like he's being watched closely, with truly evil eyes surrounding him intensely, and he completely starts to spiral downwards. His past life's very worst memories come crashing back hard, like a fierce tidal wave as he recalls his loyal comrades, screaming loudly at him to dodge and to desperately run away then, while others around cried out desperately for help. They loudly called out to him now, but he could not even answer them right back then. The shifting world around him shifts, and once again now, he is brought back in his haunting old life there, where absolutely everything was fiercely burning all around him now. The cruel soldiers of the Empire brutally march forward steadily, as they harshly trample the lifeless body of Hernando fully beneath his own foot. Helpless civilians are slaughtered without any hesitation at all, while the older version of Yuri just stands utterly still there and watches all this unfold right now. He gasps suddenly and looks all around in utter horror now, and even wonders just why Briol is truly burning now. Out of nowhere, a voice suddenly calls right out then that it is the third prince right over there then, the very last surviving prince of the Briol royal family. Enemy soldiers spot him then and start rapidly closing in now, while he stares silently down at his own trembling hands here. That's truly when the brutal truth hits him like a hammer hard, that somehow he's been dragged all back to the exact moment when Briol was utterly destroyed then. Briol is burning harshly to the very ground here, and the Imperial army is out, hunting now for Prince Yuri of Briol here. Yuri's own mind is spinning, as he finds himself now back in the same exact place, all over again now, only to be chased all down once more, for simply being the last surviving Brioline ever, and now the only true heir, who can indeed bring back the lost honor of Briol now. The guy's frozen stiff right on the spot, completely stunned, truly frozen. Not even sure how it's possible for the man to be right here now. The Imperial army's really itching to take the prince out fast. One of them is now, even lunging swiftly from behind to take his head clean off now. But Yuri senses the sheer murderous intent creeping right up on him close, and gets his own sword ready quickly, just in time now. He turns swiftly and dodges the fierce strike like a true pro, just barely making it narrowly there. Now, it's a full-on intense clash of mighty blades. Raw brute strength here, clashing wildly as Yuri struggles hard to hold his own ground firm, with a truly solid swing now. The guy slices the Imperial soldier's roach clean in half swiftly, in half cleanly. One thread is down. But before the man can truly catch a quick breath at all, he hears his own brave men shouting loud, jumping swiftly in to protect their noble prince. They're urgently screaming at Yuri to make a quick run for it, while they bravely buy him some crucial time. He certainly doesn't want it to actually end like this now, but they're desperately begging him to just go forth. One by one, the relentless Imperial army cuts them all down. There, right in the middle of the engulfing flames. Yuri's very head spins around now, wondering deeply if this is still some terrible kind of nightmare. Also questioning now whether this is truly the grim Brielle is absolutely doomed to inevitably face, trapped in utter helplessness as he fully comes to terms with the stark fact that this isn't quite the true India. Knowing painfully it simply can't be stopped either now. Something deep inside him irrevocably breaks apart. The very last prince of Brielle stands now. Before the blazing ruins of his fallen kingdom he stands. A beloved kingdom he just couldn't save, alas. Meanwhile, the Imperial army swiftly charges in from behind, fully convinced this is surely their best chance to wipe out the last remaining Brioline royal forces approach. Yuri sees them coming closer now. His grip tightens ever more around his sword. He knows the fierce fight won't stop here yet, but he's already firmly made his solemn vow. No matter what the serious situation is, he swears he will truly never fear the enemy again. With that strong fire burning bright in his fierce eyes, Prince Yuri bravely turns to face the entire Imperial army, while a voice deep inside him now pushes him ever forward, reminding him strongly to stand by exactly what he believes in. That powerful voice echoes clearly in his focused mind, drilling deep into strong truth that he has a vital duty to Brielle, and he's going to see it through right to the very bitter end. Yuri grips his sharp blade tightly, and bravely charges at full blazing speed. His strikes are slicing through both armor and flesh. In one single precise motion, the scum right from the Imperial Army drop quite dead on the spot now, their hot blood splashing fiercely into Yuri's focused eyes and nearly blinding him severely. But even with blurred vision now, the brave guy manages to block a soldier's spear now, with his bare hand, barely just in time too. Seizing this crucial moment now, Yuri drives his sharp sword straight into the soldier's gut heart, breathing really hard now. He hears a dark voice telling him to prepare for true death now, saying his time's up and wants him to give up right now. But the raw pain in his voice explodes with fierce defiance. Brielle will absolutely never throw away its honor, even if it ultimately means dying for it all. With that very fury, Yuri lunges directly at the Imperial Army like a wild beast, ready now to carve their graves right then and their heart, to boldly fulfill Brielle's noble duty. Just then, little Yuri quietly mumbles that he truly will protect Brielle's honor always, until the end. Fiore's sharp voice suddenly cuts through clearly, waking the poor, shaken kid up, asking if he can truly hear. One loud call of Yuri's true name snaps him right out of it, and the truly shaken boy finds himself then, staring intently at the dark, black army now, while his father, gentle Fiore here, gently calms him very down indeed. He then reveals it was all just an illusion cast. The very moment Yuri gripped hard the sword tight, it tragically triggered a past memory now, and now his small hand is drenched in cold sweat so clearly from the deep look in his young eyes. His wise father seems to now realize he may be wrong here, and he now wants young Yuri to take up the true sword. Little Yuri sweetly smiles at him now, saying clearly he's already made his decision well. But right then he pauses kind of briefly, weirded out somewhat by a very strange expression on his father's worried face. Anyone just looking directly at him might think Yuri just really signed his own death warrant now, or certainly something suddenly did. The small boy tugs gently at his father and tells him just to chill. The wise old man's caught fully off guard then, stunned completely by the guts his son has to throw him such a stark reality check like that now. Little Yuri bursts out laughing there and confidently says, he's a true genius after all indeed. His father's face twitches slightly, right before he smacks young Yuri on the very head. Later that very morning, under the soft light of the sunrise, and a pleasant gentle breeze blowing through the open field, Bernard strolls by casually and catches sight of young Yuri right there, icing carefully the bump on his poor head. He really can't help but ask whose brilliant idea that truly was, and Yuri casually then says it was his own dad indeed. Bernard shakes his head slowly, jokes lightly that the old man must be feeling generous today, true. Still, he warns young Yuri that from now on, training, of course, is going to get tougher here. No more holding back then. Yuri's already quite prepared for that. Thinking back now, the kid finally realizes that Bernard's real reason for living in Brielle now probably had a lot to do truly with his own father. Seeing his great chance there, Yuri finally asks now if Bernard had to take on some special condition perhaps, like perhaps a duel with his own dad indeed. That convinced him finally to stay here in Brielle now. The old man doesn't even hesitate at all before saying yes here. So then, Yuri takes that condition right out of the picture quite swiftly and asks now, if not for that, would Bernard have still stayed here? The answer truly is a flat no here. And Bernard laughs freely when Yuri calls him rather heartless here. Still yet, the old man simply knows now. This little prince here just wants him truly to stick around. Bernard says he might just consider the actual offer, if Yuri can give him a good enough and tempting reason. Anything that is tempting perhaps will do just fine, since the old bones might just be truly willing to forget everything else here. Little Yuri is shaken deeply to his very core when Bernard suddenly indeed picks up on the tense vibe and asks if he truly deeply wants to learn the art of swordsmanship. The poor kid's now scared right out of his wits now, while Bernard is indeed lost in deep thought, clearly cooking something quite intriguing up in his mind. He's pretty curious to see just how this turns out now. Yuri finds the whole grand idea a bit overwhelming so far, especially since Bernard carries such a fierce nickname, like the fearsome sword demon. Really, But the wise old man just shrugs and says it's alright though. If Yuri hasn't fully mastered anything particular yet, he'll certainly take all that into consideration. Then Yuri says it probably won't actually be of much real help, then pulls out his sword, thus shows his unique style. Swordsmanship powerfully infused with pure mana. The very mana flows right through the blade itself now. Something Bernard admits he's frankly never really seen, or even heard of before now from all that he knows. Mana is usually just simply used to enhance all sword skills, not become fully one with them. Yuri eloquently explains that's exactly the main reason why it's so hard indeed to pass down, because it would always ultimately end up incomplete, really. But Bernard truly surprises him by saying he's quite fine with that though. He's willing to take it now, even if it's not quite perfect. And now indeed, he's making that a key condition to stay here in Brielle. At the very least, surely. He's confident he'll understand at least part of all of it. Yuri's impressed quite by the old man's true confidence, and officially confirms Bernard's extended stay in Brielle too, just like they both agreed with that little settled then. Bernard tells the kid now to show him something now, and quickly gets into a fighting position, Yuri Brielle still, gripping his own sword now. Demonstrates, well, his special Simhanchum technique. Right in the middle of it, Bernard casually drops the bomb. He never actually properly planned on leaving Brielle late. In the first place now, His Majesty actually had already personally asked him to stay 10 years more. That massive revelation hits Yuri truly like tons of bricks. The kid realizes now he just got played big time sure. Before he reacts, Bernard smirks, now reminds him gently. He's supposed instead to be attacking too. But Yuri is done waiting now, so he decides to strike first here. This old bag is seriously getting right on his very nerves now. He fiercely blocks Bernard's strong attack with all of his strength now. Their mighty blades are crashing together in such a sharp, loud clash. Later that evening, little Yuri lies still upon his bed there, lost there in a flood indeed of deep thoughts. He starts now to feel like the very future is shifting quite strong. Not the same future at all, where Brielle terribly burned. Because of his own grave mistakes, yes. He hasn't done anything truly major just yet. But the sheer fact that Bernard chose to stay here in Brielle is undeniable proof that something already is seriously changed. The future always felt uncertain and quite out of his reach so far. But now it's shifting still, slowly, little by little still. Even still, Yuri knows it's still not quite enough though. Deep down inside, he's fully determined right now to bring the whole empire to its very knees. The kid's totally ready now to make that very happen. Right out of the blue, Maid Ina shows right up now, hoping Yuri won't stir up any even more trouble indeed. Yes, from now on now. A curious Yuri asks her what other plans exactly she's hiding away. Ina's clearly used to his usual antics. Yes, she is. She brings up how he always has some excuse to ask for some help. Then quite dramatically, she drops the big news. There's a crucial meeting tomorrow at the Elders' Council now, and she really hopes he hasn't simply forgotten. She's clearly really had enough of his usual shenanigans now. His father casually adds that young Yuri will be joining them too, which is completely brand new information for him to know. Anna reminds him it's first thing in the morning true, and that most of the council members will be present there. Just then dramatically she grabs little Yuri's hand indeed, her eyes sparkling mischievously as she sternly warns him now. The place will be totally full of scary old folks, true, but she truly hopes he doesn't end up impulsively punching anyone there. He laughs nervously, quite uneasy, assuring her there's absolutely nothing to truly worry about. He's definitely not the same man as he used to be before. And with that earnest promise, he assures Ina that he will now behave well. The next day unfolds at the Elders' Council. The very first thing Yuri quickly notices is the overwhelming opposition, quite strong indeed. No real doubt about it. Ina was absolutely right now. Duke Genid is now the very first to speak up here, bringing full attention straight to the prince's unique mana method. The old man strongly opposes even the very idea of the prince learning such a new, unverified mana technique so quickly. What was supposed to be a council just for discussing national affairs has clearly now lost its true purpose, turning now into little more than a true roadblock against royal authority. Absolutely right now. Yuri finally now understands just why his father used to avoid this council. Altogether, Duke Genid now, Latiri from the west, insists strongly that Yuri should stick to the traditional Brielle method for sure instead. This royal member here immediately objects, claiming the so-called this unverified technique is actually the founder's grand legacy now. The big man truly in the room here demands some solid proof to back up that very claim now. This royal member is clearly quite irritated here, that the Duke is doubting the prince's true beliefs now. But the Duke argues it's all simply about safety indeed, saying everyone's indeed gathered now, out of genuine concern for the prince's bright future now. Yuri can't help but find it slightly amusing now that indeed the entire elders council is going back and forth over his mana method now. It almost truly feels like quite an honor now, especially considering that after Brio indeed fell here, the very same man who bowed his head to the emperor before is now speaking so smoothly to them all in here. It's more than just a little bit ironic, actually. The Duke then calls for the wise opinion of Saint Edna, captain of the illustrious royal guard now. Saint is trying hard to truly stay neutral here. Admits quite honestly he's not too sure now. Every single mana method truly has its pros and also cons, and people surely have different affinities as well. Duke quickly jumps right on that insightful statement now, using it now to push his very own agenda forward, by even pointing clearly out that even the Royal Guard captain has strong doubts still, so it's better than to just throw the whole entire thing at. This clever royal member quickly counters right back, clearly saying Santa truly meant each mana method holds its true value. Duke's sidekick quickly jumps in, accusing the Duke then of worry that the mana method might somehow harm the young prince. Yuri quickly senses the entire mood shifting far too fast, and he's honestly not liking any of it, not one single bit. In literally just a very few seconds more, the entire council had completely turned against him clearly. If he simply hadn't already put in all the serious work with the very mana method, he'd now be stuck rebuilding his core completely from the ground. But since now he's stuck precisely to the founder's original vision, his Samhankum was already deeply rooted within his very core. Yuri is now at a complete loss for any words, tense now and unsure just how to move forward here, as the heavy weight of the council's judgment hangs right over him. Just as this silence starts to truly feel suffocate, a strong voice cuts sharply through the grand hall, sharp and even casual, simply saying, they sure know exactly how to talk big here. All eyes sharply turn as free Baron himself. Calcio Arantia boldly steps forward here, breaking this tension with a confident smirk show. He throws a simple question out into the room, then asking plainly who among them has fought an orc. The entire large room's full attention shifts to Calcio now, the heavy atmosphere steadily changing here, as a few members start whispering amongst themselves now. Duke Jennid raises a sharp eyebrow, asking who he is, and just what rank he holds quite clearly now, trying hard to gauge if he belongs at this table. Calcio Arantia confidently steps right and casually introduces himself as a free Baron indeed. The big man there looks quite surprised now, almost offended that someone of high status would dare to attend the Elders' Council at all. Calcio admits he himself never planned to come either, but had absolutely no choice after Count Seymour personally delegated this very task to him directly. Yuri's sharp eyes widen at the mention of Count Seymour's name. That powerful name brings back old memories. He's indeed the border count, the one who valiantly guards the outer edges of Briolle, a lord rightly known for fighting on the front lines always. That renowned man is truly a living legend, a true soldier who bravely spent his entire life on the battlefield, and now his mighty name is being dropped in this grand hall. Although Yuri knows very full well here that Count Seymour there has little to absolutely no interest in noble gatherings now, he still just can't quite figure out why the man would bother then, sending a representative to this very council here. This royal member beats him to the question itself, asking precisely why Count Cedar sent Calcio here tonight. Calcio responds with a sly grin indeed, joking that Cedar simply wanted him to witness it all. All the snooty nobles talk big about politics anyway, without actually truly doing anything useful. After carefully watching everything fully unfold here, he finally admits now, it all makes perfect sense now why Cider sent only him alone, then subtly shifting the tone itself. Calcio explains that on the real battlefield itself, the specific type of mana method just doesn't really matter. Whether it's the Empire's Lion Fong art truly, or Brielle's traditional method as well. What truly counts always is the person wielding it. He sharply turns to Yuri, saying now, he'd certainly like to hear the prince's own thoughts too, on the important matter, taking a keen opportunity. Yuri steps forward now and expresses this, his burning desire to learn the founding king's mana method. What confuses him greatly is why it's even causing quite so much serious controversy in the first place now. And with all that, Prince Brial makes himself very clear now. No matter whatever anyone ultimately says, he's surely going to pursue the founder's mana method. One way indeed or another. Calcio goes right on to say that the sword-bearing prince is truly, clearly set now, following closely the will and method of their founder. He pointedly adds that most all of the people in this very room have neither the full authority, nor indeed the responsibility to speak on this matter, especially truly when it doesn't concern them directly. He pointedly takes a quick jab at the lazy nobles, glued strongly to their scholarly chairs of course, saying that anyone who surely never stepped onto any battlefield really shouldn't even have much of say here. Duke Jannard then comments that the free baron certainly speaks ever so blunt. Calcio then smiles and says softly, slaying those orcs tend to rub the good manners off a person, you know. So he hopes the Duke can overlook just that a bit. He then circles right back to his original question at hand, asking directly who here has actually slain now.
In an instant, the tense room falls into a profound silence now. Calcio expertly keeps the intense pressure going there, making it quite clear that monsters just don't care at all what precise kind of mana method one actually uses. The charged way he speaks has everyone looking rather nervous. Duke's sidekick agrees, but only up to a specific point now, but insists Yuri is still merely a kid lacking proper sound judgment. Yuri doesn't take that lightly and immediately fires right back, asking if Duke's sidekick is seriously questioning his judgment now. He firmly reminds everyone his unique mana method can't just be scrapped or completely overhauled like it's absolutely nothing at all. Calcio quickly backs him up, saying Yuri isn't one to give up easily, and asks if the full council plans to rip out the kid's core by brutal force. Duke's sidekick's sheer anger notably spikes at this point, but Calcio coolly stays quite composed and calm, pointing out how incredibly pointless this debate is looking now. Little Yuri is probably swiftly turning into a Calcio superfan, flashing him a grateful sweet smile for immediately stepping in. Calcio then lays the full truth out straight and clear, saying they're practically harming the prince's true well-being by simply wasting precious time on pointless debates still. It's as if the royal capital really has the luxury to sit around just talking pure nonsense there. That's truly all it takes for Duke Jannard to finally lose his temper now. Clearly fed up after taking what feels like a real verbal smack to his face indeed, he quickly snaps back at Calcio, accusing the border of draining all the budget, while staying conveniently silent on the matter. That truly hits a nerve now. Calcio's sharp glare cuts into him as he asks if only stops being quiet when 100 people simply have to die there. The guy adds a grim truth about raw life on the front lines there, saying there are daily reports of our soldiers just dying out there still. It's truly hard to believe right now. No one here has really had even a minute to actually hear about any of them. He mentions that on the very day he actually left the border too, word came in hard that 4 soldiers had sadly died there, one of them really being a friend he had actually shared breakfast with that very same morning there. He quietly confesses there that he laid the burial cloth himself there, before coming right here with that. He makes it quite clear that orcs don't rest now. They're a fierce race born for brutal battle and bloodshed only. His stark words trigger a crucial memory in Yuri now, reminding him of the dreadful conflict between Briol and the Klein Duchy now. Back then that tension gave those orcs an opening to cross the border there, and cause great havoc there. Yuri asks if things have been different lately. Calcio tells him they have been far more concerning than normal lately. Yuri also confirms if Klein's soldiers were stationed at the border now, but Calcio said the border guards had suddenly pulled back indeed. That's when Yuri learns nearby villages were burned right down, with the people either enslaved cruelly or slaughtered entirely there. It leaves him deeply wondering if this is turning into a civil war now, or if Duke Jennard's third son made some quite serious mistake there. Everyone listens to the grim discussion in total silence now, unsure just how the prince is even holding himself together still. Without waiting any longer here, Prince Yuri brings the tense meeting to a close, then stands to leave. Duke Jannard boldly tries to interrupt him then, but Yuri shuts him coldly right down hard, throwing stark shade at the so-called noble now for wasting their precious time on trivial issues there. Like mana methods, he tells them just straight up, they'd be far better off focusing energy on very real problems now, like strengthening defenses against the Klein Duchy and also the orc. With that said, the kid delivers a clean, sharp hit to the wounded pride of every greedy scum in the entire room, telling each of them to stop obsessing over a mere teenage boy and actually start doing their assigned actual jobs already. Later, the whole fiasco involving the third prince soon reaches Count Sitter's ears, as Calcio fills him fully in on what went down at the Elders' Council then. He tells Sitter that this kid seems like a completely different person now. Now Sitter asks specifically for Calcio's honest personal opinion now, and Calcio simply replies the prince's eyes did not look bad to him, carefully taking that into account. Cedar assigns Calcio to now keep a close watch on this third prince, maybe even dig just a little deeper now. With all of that, Cedar ends the urgent call through the crystal, saying they will indeed talk again very soon. Right after the connection completely cuts off now, Calcio just stands there now, thinking deeply about how soldiers keep dying at the border, while everything here instead feels so very peaceful. Just then Calcio spots the third prince outside now. Hernando, at Yuri's earnest request, has snuck right out of the palace with him, like runaway. Yuri playfully teases him, asking if he used to run from home thrice daily, like Yuri does. Hernando laughs aloud, calling himself quite the delinquent. Yuri can't get why this clumsy guy's so hyped up today, when he's got true freedom to stroll anytime he wants. But Hernando truly lives for the thrill of pure rebellion, especially when this involves doing something truly forbidden, like a royal prince sneaking stealthily out of the palace. He eagerly asks for the spicy plan, but Yuri just shrugs it off and says, "There's nothing wild happening while I am around here." Still, Hernando eagerly presses him to spill what's up here. Turns quickly out, Yuri's seriously planning to hit the biggest illegal casino here in the capital. Hernando was stunned, thinking Yuri wouldn't do anything quite reckless. Now the kids are begging him to spill the directions to the place quickly, claiming it's all indeed for the dear sake of Brielle right now. That instantly flipped a switch inside Hernando completely. He suddenly lit up with excitement and happily agreed to surely lead the way, eager now to help turn that casino upside down for sure. Among all the names that everyone in Brielle tossed around back in his past life, a few always clearly stood out. This absolutely includes the king of the underworld, who also doubled as a truly massive loan shark actually, and also the business titan as well, who ultimately built the continent's biggest trading company there. Next, Briolle's streets were seized quickly by palpable fear then, thanks greatly to the legendary assassin who took off the crime boss's very head. The man who just got assassinated then was Goryo too, yet here he is right now, the underworld's top loan shark himself, standing directly before little Yuri presently. Goryo says it is an honor to actually host such highborn guests now in his casino, and Yuri instantly realizes that Goryo clearly already knows too. They certainly are the third prince and the royal mage too, which is precisely why he came down to greet all them in person indeed. Yuri now makes it clear he is not just here to gamble away. Goryo catches the subtle shift in tone and smoothly moves into true business mode. Meanwhile, Hernando frankly looks downright betrayed indeed. He solely came chasing thrills and high-stakes poker tables, you see, not really political power plays at all now. Yuri shuts him up quickly with just a sharp look. Goryo boldly asks if Yuri's here to simply borrow money now. Turns out Yuri's actually thinking of flipping it directly into a bigger investment, but Goryo smoothly sees right through him entirely. The kid's clearly building his own secret stash on the side then, and the very fact that he came to him instead of some bank makes such things a whole lot more truly interesting indeed. Goryo figures the third prince now has bigger plans indeed, and surely some serious ambition behind those piercing eyes then. But Yuri's certainly not looking to get into all the details now. He quickly shuts it all down then, reminding Goryo that asking too many questions isn't truly part of his job at all. Goryo backs off quickly, switching gears and immediately apologizing now. Yuri subtly leans right in now, casually pointing out that he's the one borrowing all the money here still. Goryo truly intends to know what the fund is even for indeed. Turns out Yuri's aiming to buy up Magranza completely, a truly rare spice straight from the Claim Mountains also. He bets the supply simply won't come close to demand level. Hernando really feels like everything's moving too fast it seems. Goryo knows Magranza has a key role in high-end perfumes now, but he's unsure still if it's worth betting money on this though. Yuri though is quite dead certain the buzz will fully kick in soon indeed. Hernando knows well the civil war brewing in Klein Principality, and furthermore, the orcs are roaming that region too, casting doubt now on whether spice prices will actually explode. He even starts to suspect the kid just might be trying to corner a local market perhaps, before anyone else quickly catches fully on it all. Still now, the way Yuri carries himself well, makes it quite clear he's not throwing darts randomly indeed. Even Goryo really gets the sense Yuri Brielle isn't naive actually. This noble-playing merchant kid is calculated even, sharp and knows much more than he's letting slip out now. Now Yuri seriously starts working out all the numbers, not really as a prince, but rather as a serious investor now. Goryo thoughtfully takes his time thinking it all through now, before he finally has that young kid sign the whole agreement. Yuri's all smiles, clearly so pleased with that deal he just locked in now. Hernando meanwhile can't quite wrap his own head around how this kid had the real guts to borrow such a huge amount from Goryo. Of all people, that guy's still quietly grumbling there, whining loudly that no one even gave him a real heads up, and he's extra salty, they haven't even really gambled yet now. Yuri fully knew quite well this guy would have dragged him straight back to the castle, truly, and they're right in front of his own father there. So he indeed kept it all completely under wraps now. Now he's really got important business to handle at the guild instead. And as far as Magranza goes too, those profits are already quite in the bag. Essentially, Yuri is now well aware that the very first casualty of this looming civil war will most likely definitely be the alchemist, the only person known who knows how to truly process Mogranza's spice, and a trusted aide to Duke Klein until a replacement finally shows up here. Yuri has already planned out now to sell the spice at whatever price he wants exactly. He also knows quite better than to hand this sensitive job to just anyone else, which is exactly why they end up at a rather sketchy place. Rundown really place. Fernando was seriously judging this young kid for even showing up. Somewhere quite like this, Yuri then knocks hard and loud, calling specifically out loud for a Rainwood right now, while Hernando keeps truly insisting that the guild would have been a much smarter choice for sure. Irene suddenly steps out, completely and utterly clueless too, asking a simple question. What's going on exactly? Yuri wastes absolutely no time introducing himself and then offering her a job now. Meanwhile, the Dumbo mage is just practically losing it completely over the actual fact that the third prince would truly stoop this low now, and even try to hire someone like specifically her now. He's quite ripping into Yuri's questionable judgment here, baffled indeed that he would trust the future trade of Mogranza to some little no-name shop, but exactly with a truly wicked grin here. Yuri truly knows that right now. It might clearly look like nobody is running a shabby trading company. Still, he knows one firm thing for sure now. Irene Wood indeed is going to become the greatest merchant on the entire continent, while Goryo uses every dirty trick when matters get rough. Irene, on the other hand though, values promises above all else surely. Little Yuri gives off a creepy smirk, knowing that in his past life the guy only made it quite as far as legendary merchant status. But this time around Yuri's set on turning him into a full-blown myth truly. Fernando, still trying to quickly keep up, dares to then ask if Yuri's finally done with all his outside business yet. Yuri just shrugs, simply saying he's got one last thing left to handle first. So Hernando ends up chasing right after him fast, while Yuri's now already thinking ahead too. The lone shark of the underworld and the great merchant are both already on board with his plan now. That clearly leaves only one more piece to complete this set here. The two of them arrive at a rundown street final, where beggars are now fighting over mere scraps of food openly. Yuri truly knows it has to be somewhere around in here, and sure enough indeed, his eyes land upon a group of kids as the third prince. Yuri Bryal steps right forward and addresses the woman among them there, the very same one who killed Goryo back in his past life then. That's truly the legendary assassin, Asana herself. Of course, the big question within the future assassin's mind was always, why exactly would the prince of the kingdom stroll through these slums? Yuri quickly assured her that he came by with truly good intentions now. There really is no need to be quite so wary at all. In fact, indeed, he is here now precisely because he thought he could provide some help to the needy. He then turned to Hernando quickly and gestured precisely for the thing that they prepared beforehand already. The poor mage could not bear indeed to let it all go at all. In the end surely, he was reluctantly forced to hand over that sack filled right to the brim with coin. The prince's quick gaze darted quickly around now, and quickly saw a little girl hiding right behind Asana now, evidently quite wary of the well-dressed strangers standing here. Yuri could certainly tell that this small child was surely the reason. Asana once borrowed a large sum of money from Goryo in her past life, it seemed. She then had to truly bite the bullet then, all in order to get the little girl the treatment that she needed so much for her illness. Just like all those who borrowed from the ruthless loan shark indeed. Asana's life went downhill very quickly into total ruin from that specific point on. This eventually led her indeed down the dark path of an assassin later. She quickly made quite a name for herself in that underground world, becoming known as one of the most skilled killers in the market today. Yuri's little trip all the way down to this slum now is for the sake of preventing that unfortunate fate from fully happening now. Without elaborating further, he simply handed Asana the bag of those coins, and just asked Asana to take that little girl to the temple for treatment. Then when asked just what he wanted in true exchange for such a large sum, he had a very short, simple answer with a bright smile so true. All he asked for in actual return was for Asana to simply remember his name. Yuri Briol, the third prince of the entire kingdom, no less. Afterward, they did not exactly stick around for long, and made their true way out of that very depressing part of town again. While still walking right out of that quite miserable area now, Hernando still quite could not make sense now of why the prince would give all of that cash away to some random beggar. Well, it surely will be a very lucrative investment later for the future. In a single night, he made invaluable, important connection with no less than 3 of the most important figures. In just a few years' time, he now actually has the key figures he'll need right in his pocket. Aside, of course, from those 3, there is actually just one more person he definitely needs in his corner. He simply turned to Hernando and just asked a simple question. He asked now the carefree mage what vision precisely he saw inside the founding king's tomb. With just a wry smile, he answered that all he did in the dream world was gamble away. Yuri just was not expecting such a silly answer now at all. The mage then elaborated that he played a game at the Empire's Barthlegas casino, with his own life right on the line. While this surely is surprising at first, knowing this degenerate gambler. Indeed, a gambling den truly is his battlefield. Visions aside, Yuri wanted Hernando to firmly keep his mouth firmly shut about everything that actually happened tonight precisely. That means truly keeping it a deep secret, even to the king, just as the third prince indeed expected. The court mage was urgently called upon in the throne room to give a full report about the prince's secret activity, even though they tried to sneak out without actually tipping any alarm. The king still heard quickly that they had gone out last night itself. Hernando did not actually bother denying their late excursion, so the powerful king wanted additional and more details here. The mage detailed how Yuri practically forced him out to leave the palace deep in the dark and silent middle of the night. That he truthfully confessed right there that they went straight quickly to the biggest casino in the capital city. Scenes of their shady dealings here with that notorious loan shark flashed clearly in his mind for sure. Of course, King Fiore would assume greatly that they went to gamble there, and waste even money with the most genuine smile that he could muster too. The mage greatly lied right through his actual teeth, and answered truthfully that they did spend money on the table. The king himself did not seem surprised or upset by this at all. To sell this clever lie even better, Hernando added that he had lost all the money he lent to the young prince in card games, mind you, which he was not very good at indeed. When asked to elaborate further on exactly what happened last night, scenes of their bizarre and strange trip flashed quickly in his mind. They took the money then, borrowed it from the known underground dealer to some failing old merchant guild. Quite right then. The rest of the coins there were donated to some random orphan in the slum. Of course, Hernando certainly did not go into those specific details. In his very words, they just walked around and saw how people live. The prince, simply put, was interested in how his people lived their real lives. Before the sun truly rose, they were back within the castle wall. Nothing more occurred, nothing less happened. King Fiore took in the official report with stoic discernment. It seemed he could easily tell that the court mage wasn't entirely truthful now, but he did not pry any further into it. Changing the subject quickly, he then asked Hernando if he planned to attend the ball being held soon. With a jovial smile, the court mage confidently answered a resounding yes. The king, indeed, was quite surprised to hear that. This guy truly wasn't the type to go to formal balls at all, but people's minds do certainly change all the time, it's true. Besides, though, it has been a while since he busted out his best moves on the dance floor. Meanwhile, Yuri is back once more on the training ground for his rigorous daily spar with the formidable sword demon. As usual, he is down on his ass, recovering after a good beating. While he was recovering fully from his latest beatdown, he noticed some considerable commotion nearby him, and teased Bernard now for being quite so popular with the fair ladies of the castle. The maids keep on glancing often at the stalwart trainer, while blushing deeply and murmuring quietly amongst themselves. Yuri tried goading his stoic teacher on to attend the ball soon, to give the eager ladies precisely what they wanted so much. Bernard simply retorted that he had absolutely no interest in such things. That inherited sword technique then. On the other hand though, it's been on the back of his mind indeed since trying it out. Unfortunately, the insightful third prince was quite right. No matter how hard he truly tried to make sense of those moves, there was simply no decisive, clear form in this technique, since he could only put half of the whole thing into practice. To Yuri, the soul severance technique simply comes natural. He smoothly moves with the flow without any rhyme or real reason. There is truly simply nothing quite like it in existence. A pure mana method, directly linked to a sword technique, does not exist anywhere else. But Bernard definitely doesn't want to give up just yet. Perhaps watching the astute third prince in a real, actual fight would give him far better insight. As for their regular, routine training, he is actually quite pleased indeed with Yuri's progression, whether in pure, raw swordsmanship or general mana usage. To be totally honest, the kid's growth is quite astounding. In truth, this type of rapid progress wasn't really progress at all. The prince is still currently trying to erase any traces of the Brielle method that he had fully mastered way back in his past life. With stern concern, the sword demon asked the young kid to never rush himself, so he is truly worried that Yuri is progressing way too fast for sure. Faster than his growing young body could readily support them. He's already achieved so very much at such a young age now, but going now at the very rate he's clearly going now, serious complications might readily arise soon enough. With a confident smile, Yuri assured the old sword nerd completely that he would always surely maintain a good balance indeed. He knows his own body the absolute best of all now. In fact, he can clearly go for another sparring round right now too. To spite spice things really up, he tossed the wooden sword far away now. He unsheathed the ancestor's blade, and with a cocky grin now, challenged Bernard directly to draw his very own weapon. The sword demon honored this request and elegantly drew his weapon out. For an added and further layer of real risk, Yuri proposed a bold bet: if he can successfully land just one attack, Bernard absolutely must attend the upcoming event. Of course, the sword nerd declined such a ridiculous wager then. Besides all that, he's so confident that he'll win anyway now. Other than that fact, he has no real faith that Yurita, with his absolutely zero credibility at all, would truly honor any sort of bet made. Ticked off quite a bit by the fact that his teacher is practically dismissing his bold challenge now. The third prince injected some mana into his keen blade then. He took off swiftly like a real speeding bullet now, ready to truly pounce on any opening he could find out there. Yuri's quick blade collided with Bernard's own master and student there, clashing fiercely with smiles upon their eager faces there. Spoiler alert here, the third prince sadly lost out. He still has a long way to go indeed. A few days later, the distinct sounds of hooves galloping towards the castle can easily be heard from all corners of the vast kingdom now. The grand day of the ball had finally arrived at last. In one of the luxurious carriages parked, a tall blonde man, clad in shiny armor, was peering through the window pane. The vast empire's second prince, that's right, George Ivanov Grandson, is about to arrive in style. Sitting opposite him now was none other than the little princess, Yekaterina Ivanov Grandson indeed. It has been such a long time indeed since she left the empire now. Tonight, there is truly someone she really wants so much to meet. Just a few hours before the grand ball starts tonight, the third prince is now getting ready it seems. He finally ditched his simple and comfortable old clothes for something more truly royal and grander now. In truth, he wanted nothing more than to ditch this fancy garb now. All the grand decorations are too flashy for his rugged taste indeed. Ina argued that he used to like extravagant things just like this before. After buttoning him up and straightening his fancy outfit, Ina then moved quickly towards the door it seemed. Before she could even leave, the third prince invited her to a dance. He reasoned logically that he wanted to get some practice in too, and he clearly did not have anyone else at all to pair up with. Ina stammered then, looking bothered by the young master's strange request. She reckoned clearly that this boy must be planning to step on her foot, to get her to fall on the floor or something. He smoothly then took her directly by the hand, pulling Ina closer now while promising not to mess with her at all. No funny business at all here tonight. They are just partners, dancing gracefully to their own music now. He took the lead strongly, and she followed closely. Ina felt her maiden heart skip a quick beat now, unable to utter a single word then, as the dashing young master swayed her gently with such care. When she calmed down, Ina bragged that she was a fairly good dancer indeed. In response, he playfully asked just who it was she's been dancing with. Once more, Ina boasted proudly that she was quite popular too, but she had truly never danced with someone so short before that. No worries, that height difference simply won't be a problem soon now. For a few minutes then, the two freely danced under the gentle moonlight, peering keenly through the window outside, and Ina stepped clumsily on his foot a few times then. Inside the truly opulent ballroom now, sounds of melodious music beautifully filled the halls then. Nobles and their chosen partners took gracefully to the floor, to proudly show their truly elegant moves there. Up in the highest booth, King Fiore is sitting proudly on his throne, drinking his fine wine while carefully observing the grand festivity. Besides the lavish table with a wide spread of food there, the three princes there were just talking and laughing soft, while he's fully engaged in soft conversation now. Yuri is carefully scanning around this very room here. He could clearly see Count Seymour in close attendance. The man truly is really different from rest of the night. Surprisingly, he did not send Baron Ranshaw as any proxy tonight. Yuri's sharp eyes darted quickly towards his eldest brother's glasses. He then asked the crown prince if his eyesight was getting worse, but Big Bro assured Lil Bro it wasn't bad enough to worry now. Finally, the loud trumpets blared loudly, signaling arrival of some quite important guests right now. Nobles quickly cleared right out of the way now, as the second prince of the Grand Empire valiantly rolled along. Prince George marched straight toward the king to pay respect. Fiore cordially shook Blondie's hand tightly, and politely thanked him very much for making the trip. They exchanged a few more pleasantries there, and George finally introduced everyone to little sister right now. When Yekaterina came directly into clear view, Yuri deeply felt a sinking feeling in the pit of his stomach. Quite in contrast to his grim, serious look, the little princess was equally so polite and graceful with greeting. Who would have guessed that this angelic girl would spell out the ultimate downfall for the whole kingdom itself? Even now Yuri can still clearly remember their sweet memories they share. Of course, he also knows quite the inevitable and truly painful ending. Her written sincere apology on a piece of paper sent by pigeon still greatly haunts his very dreams in this life now. He vowed then to never create such rapport, or even just interact slightly at all with this girl. He simply cannot afford to make that same costly error again. Never again, no. His quite silent brooding on the sidelines caught the princess's true attention. While The other princes of the kingdom threw compliments, pleasantries abound. She just curtly responded then with genuinely polite smile. The night just continued onward as usual really. Wherever this princess goes now, Yuri makes so sure to steer clear of the perimeter totally. Right there on the dance floor, he could clearly see his eldest brother dancing with a noblewoman, just as expected of Cedric, so respectful and graceful as always. Yuri could now see all the qualities of a benevolent lord in that very brother of his, compared to that other guy. He's really like an uncultured swine indeed. He can't smoothly avoid the Empire's princess even for one night. Thankfully his second brother is always there to pester her though. Even though Yuri is carrying all the baggage of the future still. That hasn't happened quite yet, but the feelings and memories remain. Thankfully Ina was there then to cheer him right up, with her truly delicious cookies and warm smile too. He asked her if serving guests in such a big event was tiring. She jokingly answered him that this event is nothing much compared to attending to a certain someone. After he took all the cookies in her tray, Yuri's mood seemed to brighten up a bit now. He leaned wearily against the table, hoping deeply that this night of noble formalities would finally end. His thoughts then were interrupted by the Empire's second prince, approaching him now with an apprehensive, wary gaze. In his past life indeed, Georgi Vranagranzian became a legendary figure. He commanded all the troops on the field in place of the king himself. Yuri's etiquette training quickly kicked right in then. He politely bowed and formally introduced himself as the third prince of the kingdom quite formal, to the man who drove Briol to complete ruins here. It took every last iota of his willpower to stay calm really, and suppress his bloodlust against this very guy even. Unfortunately and sadly for Yuri though, it really looks like George had taken a special interest in him clearly. With a sly smile then, the second prince suddenly exuded a sharp, oppressive aura that was tightly wrapped around his neck there. It felt just like multiple coiling blades were dancing closely, and touching all of his vital points directly. The second prince grimly asked if he had just turned 13 this very year. We might need the FBI here surely, duh. Without really waiting for an answer George walked away now with enough information to discern clearly that the third son of Fiore is. George was quite a talented young man indeed. Yuri then clenched his fist tightly in frustration. That guy just openly threatened Yuri with an intrusive test now. Yuri felt just how strong and truly dangerous George was, and George was not even quite in his prime yet at all. Those spawns of the Empire really are just a bunch of bastards. Suddenly the distinct sounds of wineglasses shattering now on the floor immediately attracted absolutely everybody's full attention there. Ina had accidentally spilled the wine on George's fine cake, a grave sign of disrespect towards the Empire's symbol. Instead of looking upset George, the second prince, looked mischievous instead. Yuri saw the whole unfolding thing and he felt his blood run so cold. Without any hesitation George motioned to draw his sword from its sheath then. He lightly placed his blade right against Ina's delicate neck now. Like an executioner they're truly thirsty for blood itself. George then cited that according to the crown's strict rule, such a grave mistake right here is quite punishable by death. Yuri was the only sole one who actually saw that. This real dickhead tripped Ina on purpose there then. Ade clearly made a mistake, and the second prince wanted her head then. For the sake of his so-called justice alone, really. Thankfully, the wise king stepped in to firmly reprimand Prince George now for rudely interrupting the ongoing ball. King Fiore then asserted that if blood was truly what he wanted now, he should spill some within his own very land first. George keenly sensed the sharp pressure from the king's firm word. He withdrew his blade, bowed, and kindly apologized quite swiftly. He respectfully laid out the existing mutual respect between the kingdom then, and Briol right up until now indeed. Then, with such a masterful redirection move, he suddenly brought up the critical name of Gatentia too. Gatentia is a knight of the mighty empire indeed, mercilessly executed by Fiore within Empireland at that time. The wise emperor respected the king's high honor still, and did not ask for any sort of retribution or compensation back. Prince George likened that significant event to this one happening now. He insisted that beheading this poor maid now was truly a matter of protecting both powerful nations. Peace and honor. This is surely a very tricky situation indeed. It's a quite indirect challenge to Fury's full authority. With really just one sentence said, George backed the king up into a corner, at such risk of honor. Stopping the prince right from exacting his twisted justice now would clearly be taken as a direct challenge to the whole empire. Yuri then weighed his options, necessities, and many conditions. Ideals and stark reality, reason versus raw power, are all tenets outweighed by Briol's core philosophy itself. A Briol simply must never abandon their honor. Even after death, one must uphold that very way of life. The oath of Briol absolutely stands above everything. Before Prince Georgi could swing his deadly weapon to separate Ina's poor head from her frail body, Yuri loudly interrupted. He calmly walked to the room's middle and professed full ownership over the poor maid now. Since she is now under his direct employment, her wrongdoings are really as good as his own, since he too is a prince, he asks George to perhaps reconsider this harsh punishment. Inwardly, Yuri could certainly not help, but truly felt like he was being punished greatly for his past. No matter the cards he's been dealt to him, he must play this game, one he never had the choice to begin. Instead of a merciless execution in the ball's very middle, he then proposed a duel trial instead. Hearing the boy's truly sincere request now, the Empire's second prince could not hold back his amused laughter at all. This time Yuri's name had definitely stuck in his mind quite firmly. As the two princes stood right in front of one another now, the surrounding nobles then held their collective breath. George turned his gaze toward the king now, and expressed clearly his intent to accept the ridiculous alternative here. Fiore reluctantly agrees then to this compromise made, knowing that he's just throwing his own boy into the waiting wolves there. Luckily though, Prince George saved some face by insisting on using a proxy for this duel. On account of their vast difference in overall strength too, he will pick out the youngest person from the Empire's royal guard first, to give the third prince a fair chance at this. With that all settled here, the second prince sees no more real reason to stay and mingle now. Once that lunatic was truly out of the immediate picture here, Yuri swiftly ran directly to Ina's side just to check on her now. She's actually still shivering slightly from the sheer fear indeed. She was mere seconds away now from losing her very life quite gruesomely. After all that, Yuri valiantly tried to help her fully get up there, but sadly she did not even have the strength at all to fully do so. She could surely not bear the grave thought of putting her master in harm's way now. In the end, she ultimately had to be escorted out now by her fellow maid. Yuri resolutely walked towards the direct opposite way then, and quite just happened to unexpectedly run into the Empire's princess. Yekaterina's familiar warm smile was now totally gone now. In its precise place was a rather serious expression instead. Yuri then fully closed his own eyes and dismissed any useless thoughts of the past, and briskly walked clean away now, notably without saying one single word. Fernando calmly saw that complete whole thing clearly happened now, all while sipping slowly on his red wine from quite afar then. On the long way quickly back to his own silent room now, Yuri's eldest brother clearly was waiting for him to just pass by. The crown prince's once laid-back demeanor was totally gone, replaced with worry and concern. He simply asked his little brother about what exactly was going to happen next now. Yuri truly felt compelled to explain that he just could not bear to see that Dick kill Ina, just like some meat in a slaughterhouse at all. The crown prince sighed softly and ruffled the boy's hair lovingly so. It has been a while indeed since he felt his brother's genuine concern here, for his very own well-being. Before dismissing him softly now, Cedric asked his little bro if he needed any sort of extra help too, regarding this upcoming big headache at all. Prince George made it almost seem like he was being considerably considerate by assigning a proxy rather near Yuri's level now perhaps, but Cedric sees this as perhaps the exact opposite here. If Yuri was to boldly fight a knight close to his strength now, some sort of terrible accident could occur in the trial. Cedric deeply wanted to step in and just take care of the problem here, using perhaps his own means and methods here. Yuri doesn't want that as he started this dire problem, so he truly wanted to be the one to put a stop to it all. Sensing his little brother's quite tangible confidence too, Cedric simply dropped the topic and chose to fully place his trust in the boy too. Right now, the ball is a bit of a tangible mess at all, when indeed the Empire's second prince then stormed right off. It's Cedric's important job now to fix the heavy atmosphere right out there. Yuri truly looks up to his brave big brother so much. If only this kingdom hadn't tragically fallen so fast, he is quite certain that Cedric then would have been a great ruler indeed. In this very lifetime now, he wants so much to see what kind of strong kingdom Briolle can become, under brave Cedric's glorious reign. For that to fully happen, the boy then must fight right through and make sure a great future exists. It did not quite take Georg so long to quickly pick the youngest knight in his order. Today, some striking redhead arrived, a hotshot product straight from the Empire today, has then taken the great stage to boldly go up against the third prince, while everybody intently watches from the comfort of their fancy seat. Judging just by his notably excited smile now, Fernando truly did not look too truly worried about this tryst at all. As for Captain Sand, he's quite seen enough geniuses, he can surely tell that the opponent's potent energy is extremely stable right now, based directly on the very refined movements made. The brave knight looks very much like a skilled blade expert too. This dude here is the product of the Empire's military education indeed. While Captain Sand there is stressing over Yuri's safety quite a bit, the court mage beside him is just smiling and chuckling softly, calmly looking at the stage itself. The third prince over there was simply stretching his arms while yawning now, as though this current fight was the most boring thing in all the world. By Hernando's estimation, there is simply nothing to worry about actually, in this entire world. The Grand Wizard title is a rank that is virtually impossible to reach indeed. Of all the ranks given to mages across various magic towers here, that title is only given to mages who have obtained indeed what's called origin magic. Among these all-powerful origin magic spells now exists the ultimate power, specifically to take a peek at the world's fate now. The all-seeing fate revealing magic now. In this world, there is really only one mage indeed, who succeeded truly in learning that overpowered ability of sword. Hernando, he distinctly remembers going up against the third prince now, back when they were both fully in their degenerate gambler phase. It was truly the very first time he had lost money then, ever since he fully obtained his original magic then. At first, he tried to chalk that up to mere coincidence. Maybe it's simply just bad luck on his own part, but that, undeniably, is impossible now. His fate-revealing magic allows him now to read an opponent's very hand, and the flow of fortune with a mere fleeting glance too. But he cannot read anything whatsoever about that brat's future, when he tries hard enough indeed now. He sees the stark illusion of a sword mountain too, right in the middle of those very inns. He could certainly make out a boy with black hair now, and eyes shaped into such an arrogant gaze still, unmistakably belonging to the third royal prince here. Hernando watched as this young man plowed through hordes of enemies. Despite his bloodied and much battered body here, he swung his sword boldly and never yielded for even a second. The strange vision abruptly ended now, with the young knight collapsing in utter bleak despair. Back then really, Hernando dismissed this whole story as just a weird ability quirk indeed, a mere coincidence, if you will suggest. From that pivotal point on, he became keenly aware of an anomaly in the universal order. Hernando stood right beside the prince the whole entire time. He witnessed the kid's erratic actions and really drastic changes. Hernando was now convinced that his fate-revealing magic could peel right through that seemingly unbreakable and solid wall. But now, certainly it makes sense. He's quite certain now that Prince Yuri is a man with no real destiny at all. Right now, that kid possesses no discernible future. Is about to showcase his impressive skills in front of everyone now in the arena. His fierce opponent has been practicing hard, and swinging his sharpened sword on the other opposing side of the stage, driving the rather impatient third prince mad at seeing. Second Prince George then asked the participants if they were ready now, and both combatants gave their clear go-ahead for the immediate start now. Under the intense scrutiny, the gaze of the king himself, the crucial trial combat officially commenced just now. In the tense first few brief seconds, both the quick prince and the knight vigilantly maintained their crucial distance, while carefully watching out for any sudden quick movements too. As soon as the go signal was clearly dropped, Yuri shot forward fast at breakneck speeds now, much more to the knight's complete surprise truly. He envisioned it himself getting caught hard by the very first attack, so badly that a full quarter of his whole upper body was simply wiped out of existence. Just like a true, tried, and tested fighter always, the knight powered strongly through the complete surprise, and quickly raised his strong sword high for defense now. They sharply exchanged blows mere milliseconds apart from each other, while nimbly hopping all over the whole place now. Yuri's sharp blade attacked keenly and defended well, depending now on whether he needed stern defense or sheer lethality itself. As this great fight goes on, it becomes even harder to suppress his bright smile. Right now here, the bold opponent who's been trying very hard to catch him off guard here, has a long, harsh blade wound right on his own cheek now. In this very crowd, Fiore then turned to his trusted court mage now for a quick question. With the sincere concern of a loving father, he keenly asked Hernando regarding the possible true outcome of this fast blade dance. In utter honesty here, the all-seeing keen mage cannot truly see the end result at all now. Instead of him feeling upset now, he actually felt quite thrilled and excited. Instead indeed. The king recalled then that when the young magician arrived in Brioche, he stated clearly that it was through heaven's guidance he landed here. When the king asked then if the time for his departure had finally arrived yet, Hernando decisively answered no then. Fiore sighed deeply in relief just then. It's truly a good thing that such a valuable asset is staying by his side now. Hernando humbly responded then, and the king warned him that excessive modesty could truly bring about misfortune soon. Asking the king to turn his royal attention back to the intense fight, he asked the strongest swordsman in all the world about his own perspective on exactly who the stronger swordsman is between the two skilled fighters now on the stage. Without even a shadow of any doubt at all, King Fiore gave the prestigious title to the empire's prodigious young knight quickly. Logically and also realistically speaking now, the perceptive king is truly right in saying that now, Hernando is finally starting to truly understand why. Heavenly signs clearly pointed him towards this very kingdom. The heavens truly are trying to get him in the vicinity of a man indeed, who could shift the fate of the entire world quite easily. At first, he thought he was being drawn to the strongest swordsman alive, the king himself. In all honesty now, the years of peace led him truly to believe that it was time to pack everything, go, and never look back ever. But with that interesting young man budding into quite an interesting specimen, indeed, Hernando just cannot possibly go away now and miss out so soon. When the young knight tried to bum rush him directly, Yuri increased the intensity of his own mana greatly, coating his ancestral blade swiftly. He's done testing the waters lightly and dipping just his toes in now. It's really time to get some real attack going now to end this farceful. The young knight could certainly feel and see quite clearly the sudden increase in the prince's speed now, like rapidly flowing water so free. The glint of the blade danced danced around quickly before reaching that killing range now. Through the enemy's neck, soon as the mana got close enough to burn his skin harshly, and the intense coldness of the blade inched slowly closer indeed. The young knight closed both his eyes and accepted his true impending doom calm. The ones who were most taken aback really were the royals in the Empire's very own viewing deck now. At his same level, indeed. Fiori managed to follow each series of attacks down to precise detail. Even Captain Sand was quite slack-jawed at this sudden reversal on stage. As for Hernando, he smiled wryly at the keen choice that the kid made. He actually twisted his very sword at the last possible second now, only a few inches away truly from a clean beheading strike. He deliberately stopped the great onslaught of his sharp blade now. When the young knight finally voiced out his own surrender indeed, cheers for the prince erupted wildly from the viewing decks then. Hernando indeed has been roaming the very lands chasing heavenly sign. Who truly would have thought that he would even meet someone who simply defied his guiding light above. Life quite turned into death, and death turned into life anew. The humble mage's destiny changed finally, and so did the boy here. Every single step of his defies the strong will of the vast cosmos. Yuri Brial now is the only life form free from destiny's strict bound. Hernando surely can't wait to just see how this bright kid will make way. All over the whole world wondering about transcender of this fate will reshape the very destiny of this entire world truly. Fills the mage with truly thrilling anticipation. Just like that, 5 peaceful years have passed by in the land of Brialesna. Today, a new maid is zooming quickly through the castle halls, quite filled with anxiety. It's her first actual day at this brand new job, and she has mixed up her assigned work area. Just as she was hoping so much to get into position without anyone noticing her, a sharp voice suddenly stopped her right in her track. He truly had a deep voice, a dark look in his eyes, and quite black hair, symbolizing Briol's undying loyalty. The stern man interrogated her about her seemingly suspicious action, roaming silently around the empty halls indeed. The newbie maid tried her very hardest to calm down herself, and fully remember what her kind seniors had taught her previous. The stern man continued blaring loudly at him that he surely didn't wear any stoic expression at all, so he absolutely was not the king, or even the crown prince there. On the other hand, the kind crown prince always greets others with a gentle smile, so this menacing one has sinister-looking eyes and crooked steps also. He simply has to be one of the remaining princes then, afraid of offending surely one of the bosses. On her first day, the newbie tried hard to pardon herself. The man yelled at her even louder, ignoring his royal presence entirely. He asked sharply if these maids had some sort of manual at all, mentioning pointedly that he must be avoided quickly. Running now quite out of patience, the prince finally decided to dish out some heavy education on the new girl soon. Before that incident could proceed any further right now, a laid-back and calm voice called out to his brother that to stop that creepy, weird behavior immediately. When the newbie was just training to enter the castle soon, everyone told her to take note of one more person there in that stronghold. If she sees someone wearing a confident expression so clearly, while carrying a sword proudly right by his waist always, she must greet the handsome third prince with the utmost respect certainly. After forcefully separating his brother from that poor maid swiftly, Yuri went quickly for a stroll around the courtyard casual, with a small bag of snacks held in his hand. As a payment of sorts for getting her out of big trouble, the kind maid gently handed him a decadent bag of sweet soon. It was quite delicious indeed. After wiping his mouth and dusting his hands there, Yuri focused now. He's now at the unarmed realm level, truly, a state where the pressure on his hand and body is lessened quite nicely, with or without the sword itself. Reaching that level after years of hard work is quite an achievement now. It has been half a decade since he was killed by Lauren's undead sword exactly, and regressed all the way back to his 13-year-old body again. Now that he's 18, peaceful days will soon be coming to an end sadly. Speaking of which, those old men in charge of the kingdom's future currently are probably yapping their asses off right now at this moment. Yuri headed swiftly for the conference room just then. He knocked and yelled for anyone to let him in, sadly to no avail still. Inside, sounds of quite intense arguing leaked out through the door there. The guard standing calmly by the entrance itself suggested that the third prince try knocking just one more time now, and maybe someone surely would hear and let him in promptly. Done wasting precious time being ignored again, Yuri used his newfound mana enhancement powerfully to blow the door open truly, with his bare fist alone. The high-ranking nobles of the kingdom were scared and quite confused then, to see the third prince now apologizing for the clear intrusion. He's been knocking a minute, but truly no one seemed to hear it at all. Like a reasonable guy, he used a bit more force perhaps, that second time around indeed. Yuri turned right to his father at the head of the table then, and requested swiftly to be included in this very conference, after being properly seated. The intense discussion about the last and biggest agenda just continued. One of the young counts then restarted the dialogue once more, by firmly asserting they did not have any spare troops to send to help the allies just outside the border itself now. If the nobles ignore the Empire's earnest request completely, then the nobles should be the ones to shoulder the burden. Instead indeed. Yuri understood why everyone felt quite strongly about their own stand. On this issue, everyone heavily considers gains, losses, and outcome. It's all a money game if he recalls correctly now. This coalition itself of allied forces, and the grim incident it will suffer is about to truly begin now. The Empire issued a call truly for every neighboring power to then join the so-called allied forces now. They humbly requested troops from various nations indeed, in hopes of building quite a strong army, big enough for a massive ORC raid toward the East region. Yuri keenly knows that this operation will end in complete failure. In their fury, the orcs will rampage straight through the human army, putting immense pressure on the bordering nations now. The odd thing was the orcs seemingly ignored the entire empire. That's when everybody fully realized that the failed raid and everything that then happened after all had been perfectly orchestrated right from the very start. In the process, Brielle tragically lost outstanding knights and heroes, including Sir Leon Flandre with Yuri fully present too, in the room precisely where it happens soon. He won't let such things flow south in his lifetime here. The table was pretty much split clean on the main decision, to send or not to send troops to those allied forces that, before the bitching and moaning about protecting number, could indeed get truly any worse now. Yuri decisively volunteered to be sent to the very front lines himself, that he will indeed join the allied forces, so they can properly show their true sincerity to the world. As for these politicking old men here, all he asks now is for them to do their noble duty, and not bring the Brielle name any more unnecessary shame. Hearing his son speak with such candor and honor now, made the king smirk just a little bit. He was quite impressed his boy arrived with a sharp answer. That would indeed tick off all the required boxes there. Later that day, Yuri transferred over to his beloved training ground, to spar with Bernard, one of his own brothers indeed. The rather rude one now came running into the arena to ask if the news was true, that Lil Bro was seriously heading right to the very front line. The arrogant and ignorant brute always could not truly understand why Yuri was risking his own safety, when he was untouchable royalty within the entire kingdom. Yuri retorted sharply that what he's trying to achieve is precisely the duty of a royal. With a sigh, the second prince asserted that he finally understood now Lil Bro's optimistic mindset. With a twinkle in his young eyes and a fresh appreciation for true life, he firmly promised to protect the palace while Yuri was away now. Then that dumbass just ran away with his unnatural gait indeed. So at this current point, Yuri would simply be relieved if that fool caused no trouble at all, let alone actually protect their cherished home. On the delicate topic of leaving home soon, the third prince inquired of his longtime friend and old instructor, Bernard, if he was worried much about his precious safety. The fierce sword demon reckons that as long as this kid doesn't do anything too utterly reckless, he will surely return completely in one single piece. Knowing just how critical the dear old man usually is, this is truly quite a generous evaluation indeed now. Still, he urged the third prince to always be vigilant and so very careful now. Back in his old sword demon days, Bernard learned just how tricky dealing with wild orcs actually was. Those truly big fuckers are far stronger, and more simply despicable than you would ever expect now. He warned the young kid to look out for fierce orcs, carrying a tattered flag right on their backs there. Those fearsome things are right from the world of Warcraft. They are called orcvils now, a subset, particularly ferocious and quite powerful of beasts. Yuri assured his trainer that everything surely would be fine. He has indeed his ways, after all now. Interrupting this intense conversation now, Ina rather barged into this training hall then, all while trying so hard to catch her breath. She came by now to inform her master about Yuri's guest arriving, with that special thing he had ordered now. He has a plan now for this upcoming doomed orc raid. A very special plan one at that now. The guest, Ina informed him, pinged him about sitting within Yuri's office and drinking tea, just when the third prince then entered. Elaine Merchant Guild's vice president, Guillermo, right there, stood up quite fast and extended a reverent greeting. Yuri had indeed thought he would be meeting Elaine today, but his esteemed madam is currently on a long road trip, so the capable vice president had to step in as a substitute. Even with the massive success of their merchant guild these past 5 years, she still vastly prefers going on dangerous product runs herself indeed. She says it's simply what she does best. You see, well, Guillermo clearly did not come here empty-handed now. He procured and personally delivered Yuri's special, desired item. The excited third prince opened the ornate box very carefully, and finally now, the 4-piece dagger set, Elementarian, was now fully in his possession. Guillermo went through a truly lot of hoops to get this unique set, and he did not quite expect such an exorbitant high price for some seemingly decorative daggers such as these. But these wondrous things aren't purely decorative at all. They are artifacts imbued with truly great ancient magic power. Seeing the third prince's impressive mana manipulation in action here, Guillermo almost shat his pants to tease the intense man further too. Yuri slowly brought his sharp tip to the man's worried face, paw. When the glittering blade was quickly withdrawn, Guillermo breathed a great, huge sigh sigh of pure relief. The prince's mana use is simply on another level truly. Suddenly, now a dark figure entered swiftly the room. It was quick and silent. Yuri caught a mere glimpse in his eye, but Guillermo, sadly, was none the wiser really. The arrival of that dark shadow prompted Yuri to send the businessman off swiftly. In just a few days, he wants an exhaustive full report about exactly how the Empire is preparing for the coming raid. When Guillermo is finally out of the full picture now, Yuri slumps heavily onto the couch there, and calls urgently for someone to come out of all shadow. Slowly but surely, Asana materialized behind him now, clad fully in her assassin's dark garb tonight. First and foremost now, he wanted much to know if their Goryo problem had been handled, as the boss quite ordered indeed. Asana sent the loan shark a truly convincing sharp warning. She left a strongly worded dark message for that bastard. Stay in his lane then. In the dead middle of the night now, Yuri had really to step in soon, since that cash rat kept on trying to go fully after Elaine's hard money, on the way directly to this room. Asana overheard servants talking about her very own boss here, joining the Union Army now. With some concern shown, she urged him gently to be careful out there now. She makes it surely sound like he's going to enemy territory alone. Well, that's surely not the case, since Asana herself will be tagging along on this upcoming journey. When asked directly if she could keep up too, Asana's deadpan expression then curved into a beautiful smile itself. Anywhere really is better than where she came from originally. She will be right by her master's side surely. Even in war, just a few days later indeed, the grand day of the march had finally fully arrived. Before his leaving, Crown Prince Cedric sought his little brother out, while he intently was fixing his new black armor then, with very deep concern shown. All he asks of Yuri gently is to take good care of himself out there. The third prince confidently jested that he was truly invincible too. Out in front lines, he plans grandly to raise the good image of Brio. He returned also the concern for his big bro's own eye. That's been worsening ever since he's been deep in his books every day now. Before they ultimately parted, Cedric hugged his little brother very tightly, hoping deeply that it wouldn't actually be long before they saw each other again soon. Yuri promised then that he would indeed be back soon enough. The war trumpets blared loudly, calling every soldier's attention immediately. Up on the platform, King Fiore stood proudly in front of all his countrymen to properly signal the official ceremony's commencement at last. The commander of the departing army climbed up the carpeted stairs slowly. With utmost confidence, the admirable third prince of the entire kingdom, clad so finely in his shiny, new armor now, looked truly awe-inspiring. Thus speaking as a father figure, Fiore thoughtfully asked his own dear son if he was feeling the nerves now. He kindly asked the young man then to turn all around now, and simply look at the men he surely would be leading here. In this daunting campaign, all the brave Brio soldiers lined up in the town square are valuable human lives that he absolutely must carry on his shoulders soon. Realistically, properly speaking, not necessarily everyone in this whole army will be able to come back alive safe. However, well, Yuri is quite determined to truly make sure that they will not face a pitiful fate, a death much like in his past life now. For one last time now, the king asked his own son if he truly was ready to shoulder such a massive responsibility now. Before he could answer at all, King Fiore had already left the podium then. As the tense atmosphere in the town square turned unbearably hostile here, Yuri looked at the man right in front of him, feeling such thick, vicious intent, murderous intent so strong that his very body trembled now, refusing to move even a step from where he was standing firm. He instinctively felt that the thing approaching him right now with menace wanted his blood quite badly. It was death's own personification itself. As the looming dark avatar raised its dark blade high, Yuri could clearly tell that trying to evade would surely result in death. Fortunately for him, the third prince had never slacked off before. When it came to training his body and his focused mind for such intense situation, using the ancestors' powerful mana method now, he stimulated his very core to combat the crippling hold of absolute terror. He carefully drew his sharp blade and entered a steady defensive stance firmly, instead of simply waiting and letting the first strike set a deadly tempo here. He then used the soul-severing slash to meet death's cruel blade head-on. Up on the high platform now, father and son crossed swords to a standstill in the fight. With a satisfied smile, King Fiore then praised his boy for a job well done. That powerful sword strike shall serve as Yuri's true letter of departure. King Fiore is not one really to hold ceremonies longer than necessary. All he truly asks is for his beloved son to come back alive here. Just like a seasoned veteran now, Yuri. Briol then turned his attention towards the men he would be leading. Down to the very depths of hell he firmly raised his sword high, and all his loyal soldiers started passionately chanting his powerful name. With utmost expressed deep conviction now. He asked his brave soldiers to put all their trust and faith in him entirely. The royal banner is raised and sharp blades are fully drawn now. It truly is time for the soldiers of Briolle to march up at the board. Word of young Yuri's departure soon reached the ears of a certain someone. Down in the dark dungeon, orcs are being kept captive for research purposes. Count Seymour, the kingdom's valiant first vital line of defense there, is looking quite forward to meeting the fated prince after 5 long years.